when you serve the food. Cooking with the Weber Slate rust-resistant griddle just sounds delicious and tastes even better.
No one knows the importance of a great assist more than Lowe's and Leo Messi. That's why we've teamed up to give MVP's Pro Rewards members 10 times the points when Messi makes an assist during CONMEBOL Copa America USA 2024. Activate this offer starting June 20th, so when Messi assists, you score. Shop the day after an assist to earn those extra points. Not an MVP's Pro Rewards member? Join today.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. Busy week of shows upcoming, and I'm looking forward to this first hour because, well, we don't have to talk about all the national nonsense going on in the world, and man, there is a lot of national nonsense on our plates. Well, plenty of time to get to that. But joining us in this first hour, Eddie is here. He's run off somewhere. But right across the desk from me, we have Chief Deputy of the Montgomery Sheriff's Office, Kevin Murphy, here in the studio. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Joey?
Doing all right. Yeah, good Father's Day?
Excellent. Had everybody over and a lot of activity, a lot of noise.
I believe. See, mine was very quiet. But I did call my brother. He's a brand new father, and he was.
That's right.
Both him and my dad were grilling out for some reason. I don't know why. They were both doing briskets. So we'll see where all this is going.
I did the same. We had everybody over at the house, and I had recently bought a expensive grill.
Oh.
And my wife wasn't real happy about it. So we cooked steaks for everybody. And I asked everyone, how are your steaks? Oh, excellent. I thought, good, I'm vindicated.
Thank God for that. Eddie, how you doing today? Good Father's Day?
Good. It was all right. In typical Bader fashion, the Bader family worked on Father's Day, both me and Justin. So. That's what Baders do on Father's Day, I think.
Yeah, at least got in touch with one another.
Oh, yeah, we
right?
talked for a few minutes and enjoyed, made plans for next weekend. We can all get together.
Okay, well, very good, very good. And we've got some technical issues here, folks, but we'll get into the show in just a moment as we work those out. But there's all sorts of topics nationally. I'm looking at the nonsense that's running right now, trending right now. It's the way of the world, I suppose, these days. I mean, when you see Joe Biden freezing up, you see CNN freaking out over the fact that Donald Trump called us a republic, not a democracy. I'm like, God. Oh my goodness, somebody didn't have a drunk uncle at Thanksgiving. But let's get right into the local stuff. And one thing I wanted to start with is just generally crime statistics. I know there's been a big fight in the national scene over the FBI statistics, and saying crimes down, violent crimes down. But then you get the response of there are a lot of PDs not reporting and that these aren't the most robust numbers. So what's your sense of just the general trends when it comes to crime in the nation? And then we'll get to here.
Last 12 or 13 years, the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics, changed the way that crime reporting was done. And I was still the police chief of the city when this was introduced. And the FBI told all the law enforcement agencies, we're going to make these changes from uniform crime reporting to NIBRS, National Incident Based Recording. So The new system, NIBRS, is very complex, very detailed. I anticipate that some policy wonk sitting behind a desk in DC came up with this. And the new system is really victim based. It's complicated. And I could sit here with your audience probably for the next day or two and bore them to smithereens about it. But a lot of, so much like what happens in government, they mandate it, but they don't give you the funding to do it. And so a more intricate based, detailed based reporting system obviously takes more expensive software and hardware and personnel to run it. And so they had all these agencies changing the reporting system, but didn't give us the funding to do it. And it's been a slow crawl.
Okay.
They mandated the first part of this year, we're not going back to UCR. You better start doing this. And so I think there's going to be some complexities to report crime reporting in the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, and I saw they do a survey of victims too. I believe the Justice Department does. And that was at odds with the FBI figures that just came out. So it is, in your mind, is crime getting better in this nation? Or I find it, and this will be the next part of the conversation, the decline in number of people wanting to do the job of policing, wanting to even be involved in the profession has declined. And to me, that suggests that we're not getting the right amount of tough on crime policies we need.
I think that's a factual statement. I was at a conference in Atlanta back in October, and I'm sorry, that was a different conference, just a few months ago. And there were agencies from every state in the country, Hawaii and Alaska included, at this conference, about 3,000 people. And one of the most common conversations was the loss of personnel in every agency in the country. And I spoke to somebody from Seattle, and she was telling me that the Seattle Police Department 10 years ago was one of the most specialized agencies in the country. They had specialized units and bureaus for veterans, youth, elderly, LGBTQ. Probably under 6 or 7, 8, 9 umbrellas of these specialized units who focused on these particular segments of society. And she looked at me and said, none of those units exist today. They were all completely done away with, and the personnel were sent back to patrol because we don't have enough officers.
Yep. Right.
And so, what's happening is happening all over the country, and particularly in the major cities. And, one of the things I listened to the mayor's discussion Thursday on podcast, and one of the things that really struck me that the mayor said, this whole phenomenon is affecting every city, not just Montgomery, every city in the country. And nobody has found the key yet. And but I'm pretty confident we're going to figure it out. It's just going to take time. This is a national problem, not just a Montgomery problem.
Well, and I wanted to move the conversation into this idea of the distinction between proactive policing and reactive. But before we even discuss that, if you don't have the personnel, you can still have intelligence-based proactive policing, but if you don't have the personnel, maybe you can't do that in the way you would want to.
If your staffing levels at a certain percentage, all you're going to have is a reactive force. You have to have at least 70, 80% strength to have a proactive agency. And again, not just Montgomery, it's nationwide. And it is driving the numbers.
What are the main reasons people are giving for getting out of the profession, or just saying, I don't even want to jump in?
When I think it's a cyclical effect. A lot of people got out because of, some of the changes in law enforcement. We were, for lack of a better term, we're the bad guys. The media had kind of villainized law enforcement, and, the public, not so much. When I'm out in public, people praise law enforcement. But when you're seeing it on, social media and you're seeing it on TV and the news over and over again, people tend to see it stick to the wall. I guess it's kind of it's unusual that the sheriff's offices are actually not having the same issues as the metropolitan. We're at 100% staffing the sheriff's office, and Sheriff Cunningham has spoken to his peers throughout the country, and the phenomenon that's plaguing the inner cities is not. See, a lot of officers are leaving the inner cities and going to the counties.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Making that
and it's not just, again, a Montgomery thing. This is all over.
All over the country.
Nationwide, yeah.
I've lived in both worlds, and I can tell you from this is my personal opinion, it's easier to work for a sheriff than it is for a municipality.
I bet.
Well, he's an elected official. The buck stops there. So when we have a decision, we go into the sheriff's office. He tells us this is what we're going to do, and it's implemented. A police chief is more complicated. Major decisions are sent to City Hall. They have to have the mayor's blessing. Sometimes his chief of staff, or in some cases a city manager. A police chief's position is affected by a lot more politics than a sheriff. And I know that sounds strange because the sheriff is an elected official, but he answers to the voters. And I was at a community meeting with the sheriff, that was last year, and he spoke from the heart on the issues that we're all discussing right now. And one of the local businessmen, he looked at all of the people in the audience, there were about 50 people there, and he said, Sheriff Cunningham is straight with no chaser. And I laughed. I say that to the sheriff all the time. I say, man, you tell it like it is. You're straight, no chaser. But, he's a lawman. He's not a politician. Certainly he's an elected official, but, a lot of decisions he makes, all of them, are based on the law enforcement doing the right thing. And again, I'm not saying that mayors don't, but mayors have a lot of other things pulling at them.
Right.
Sheriff is responsible for law enforcement. Right. Mayor is responsible for a lot of things.
Right.
And I understand that. I used to work for one, and I saw the challenges that they faced every day. You wanted a bigger piece of the pie in the budget, but he also had to consider other city departments, whereas the sheriff's funded by the county commission, and they're very generous and give our agency the resources we need. But, I can tell you an example: when a maintenance issue occurs in the jail, the sheriff doesn't have to worry about it. County commission has to fund that. So again, he'll even tell me, well, that's not for anything to me that I have to solve. I've reported it to them. They're going to fix it. So it's, they wear different hats.
Now, several things I want to ask real quick, and not to put you on the spot with personal biography, but a recent column by somebody well known here was written saying, and it was described that when you left being chief of the Montgomery Police Department, you had implemented community-based policing, and the lock-em-up types are the ones that forced you out. Is that a fair characterization of what happened?
I didn't feel forced out by that. I was just talking to my best friend before I walked into the studio, Steve Searcy, who's 40 years in law enforcement. Steve's an incredible guy. He was my sergeant when I graduated from the police academy, and we're still friends today. Yep. Steve got onto me a few times, but I love him to death. But, Steve and I laugh at community policing. That was something that we all did. In August, it'll be 40 years for me in this profession.
Wow.
But that was something that we always did and never even thought about it.
Right.
We never even gave it a name. Steve answered a call to a residence in the north side of the city. This gentleman had been killed in an oil rig. Steve had to go to his mother's home to tell her the bad news. The man's name was Jesse, and Steve pulls up, gets out of the car. This lady is sitting on the front porch in a rocking chair, and she looks at Steve and says, "This is bad news, isn't it?" And Steve's just one of the greatest guys I've ever known. He said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "Well, Jesse's gone, isn't he?" "Yes, ma'am." And Steve went and sat down on that front porch for about an hour, and she told Steve all about Jesse and his life. But he took his time. He was gentle and kind. And thoughtful, good listener. That's community policing.
Right.
Or like when I was a young officer, answered a call with an officer I knew, Carl Edmondson. Little boy's dog had been killed, hit by a car. He was sitting on the curb holding the dog, crying. It was just a sad situation. So Carl went and got a shovel, and we went back in the woods and buried the dog. And about a week later, Carl comes in the squad room, looks at me and goes, "Guess who got a new puppy today?" Carl had gone back over to the house to check on the little boy, and the little boy got a new puppy. See, that's, we didn't call it community policing, but that's the empathetic, a lot of people look at old hats like me or Steve, or Carl's long gone. Carl died several years ago. Carl was 55 when he was training me. I was 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, that was my training officer.
Wow.
Just to show you the difference between then and now.
Sure.
But we never really thought about it. I mean, I guess I was fortunate to be trained by older people who had that foundation, that calmness. But now we have 23-year-olds teaching 21-year-olds. They don't have those life experiences.
Right.
And I think not just in Montgomery, I think nationwide we're suffering from this phenomenon that Carl, Steve were very paternal to me. And I grew up a lot faster because I wanted to be like them.
Right.
Carl and I got into a fight outside a bar one night, and no mace, no tasers back then. This is in 1984. We were rolling around on the ground with this guy, and we finally got him handcuffed, and we were all scraped up. And Carl said, go to the car and get my first aid kit out of the trunk. Okay. I walked back up, and I'm putting some antiseptic on my knuckles, and I looked over and uh-oh. Carl was treating the guy's wounds. He had a scrape on his forehead from rolling around on the ground. Of course, I didn't want to look like a rookie, so I jumped in there and started administering first aid to the guy too. And, the fight was over. The guy was calm. I ran into him in the parking lot about a week later. He was being released from jail, and he walked over and shook my hand. Yeah. But again, that's that maturity, that continuity, that paternal treatment that us younger guys got that I think is now not so much common anymore.
Right. And again, folks, we're talking to Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy with the Montgomery Sheriff's Office. And again, so many things to bring up. I ran across an article. There's a guy I follow and have for years now on Twitter. I think he's just a brilliant guy from Kentucky State. He's a researcher named Wilfred Riley. And I found a piece by him in Commentary Magazine, came out at the end of last year. And it was Wilfred with a bunch of other researchers talking about what went right in policing after what went wrong after.
Wilfred
Riley. Wilfred Riley, yes.
Okay.
And it was a fascinating breakdown, and there are a few takeaways, like how sometimes the national memes can get away from us. For instance, they found New York City was actually doing a pretty damn good job, given how big they are in their numbers. But one thing they set out in New York in particular is that the commissioners there had a lot of authority independent of everybody else. They could hire, fire, change things up. And they said, and what, I can't remember the guy's name. There was one commissioner who fired something like 60-something% of his office or his command force.
William Bratton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chief Bratton. Yeah.
And so what's the virtue of
Commissioner Bratton? He brought Jack Maple over. They were the transit police. And then Rudy Giuliani hired Bratton as commissioner. He brought Jack Maple with them. And they implemented the broken windows theory at NYPD. I'm kind of a broken windows advent. That's kind of how I, when I worked at the PD, and the sheriff is of that same mindset too. There is no police chief that has total autonomy, commissioner. You work at the behest of an elected official.
Sure.
So even though it might have looked like, because Giuliani actually ran Bratton out of town.
Okay.
Yeah, Bratton became more popular than Rudy.
Rudy
had
you don't
enough.
outshine him, yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
I've actually met Chief Commissioner Bratton, and he's a remarkable guy.
Okay.
Got a Boston accent, but just he's a cop's cop. Really thought the world of him.
And another thing they bring up is the ability to very quickly respond to hot spots. And this is when I looked into the crime intervention stuff, some of the ones that seem to work were focused on, okay, if we have our hot spots and it's about 1% of the population causing the issue, let's just focus on that. And let's do it with intelligence, and for people that are truly intractable, with force, with actual officers on the ground. Does that make sense, or should we more generally lay out this idea of proactive policing versus reactive?
Like the hot spots, so ComStat, which is computer-generated GIS mapping, crime. Again, we implemented that MPD, and we use a similar, but not really, it's not ComStat, the sheriff's office, because we don't generate the numbers to really warrant it. But, when you're focusing on those areas and you start to see an improvement, you can't abandon it.
Right.
Because the minute you leave, they're going to go right back. It's kind of like whack-a-mole. So you have to, the sustainability is really the important thing. You can't let your foot off the gas. You might be able to go in there with a greater show of force, but completely pulling out after, quote, the problem is solved is an absolute recipe for disaster. So, a lot of people, and let me say this, the broken windows theory, which kind of led to stop and frisk, which, heck, you couldn't walk down the street in New York without getting stopped, put up against the wall, and a cop searching you. Sheriffs and police chiefs are always trying to find that balance. You don't want to be so obtrusive to a community that they hate walking out their front door because they're going to get shaken down by the cops. But then you can't let things get so out of hand that you're having anarchy. So every police chief, every sheriff in the United States is just trying to find that middle ground. And that is not always easy to find.
Well, and, also writing in, I was listening to a fascinating conversation. It's a podcast called Trigonometry with Roland Fryer. He's the economist from Harvard and Chicago trained and brilliant guy. He's the one who came up with the study that showed that, no, there isn't a disproportionate racial bias when it came to lethal police shootings, but there was disproportionate, say, roughing up of the black population for whatever reason. Like he said something like at a normal traffic stop, he used police reports, no resisting, and there was a 25% more likelihood if you're black, something would transpire. Not lethal, but something like that. So when he came out with that, he pissed everybody off is kind of the point.
I've read about that guy. Yeah. He said he made a lot of enemies when he produced that.
Well, I bring him up, and we can bring up other studies. And as I started looking into, say, the crime intervention stuff, we can look nationally, but it seems to me it does come down to the actual people on the ground in the community. So Boston's going to be very different to police than New York City. And of course, Montgomery's going to be even different than Birmingham. There are certain things that are universal. But does it come down to the actual community and people?
Certainly, not just the city, but the communities and neighborhoods in that city.
Blocks, yeah.
So you have some cities that have a higher crime rate, drug usage, kids skipping school, versus let's just say that's community A within that city. And then community B over here, children are attending school. There's some drug use, but it's not out in the open. I mean, I hate to shatter a stereotype here, but private school kids do drugs too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So did you go to private school?
I did go to private school. I didn't do drugs till college. Sorry.
So, but, so again, people, you have to police everybody the same. You can't. But the key, again, finding that balance is not being so obtrusive in the areas of high crime that the citizens that are sending their kids to school, working, being law-abiding citizens are not feeling harassed. And finding that right key on the piano is not an easy thing to do.
Right. I imagine it's a moving target at times too.
Yeah, it is. That's a good point.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Now we got to hit a break here in a second. When we come back, I would love to discuss guns. Sure. In particular, I know constitutional carry or permitless carry has been talked about a lot with the recent rise in especially shootings here in Montgomery, homicides in general. But in general, I would like to talk about the how guns are taken off the streets. Like and we'll get into it, but like when I see these photos of look at all these drugs and all these guns we confiscated, I'm just wondering, how does stuff like that happen? And where we might see things going if the problem isn't solved here locally with guns or other developments happening. Before we hit this break, this part of the program brought to you by a brand new sponsor here for News and Views. That's Clear Waters Property Management. And they're at Clear Waters. Well, Reed Waters and his team is ready to help you, in particular with tree removal services. So whether it's full-on tree removal, and that can be after a tree falls out by its roots or something awful hits your home, or you might notice, okay, this tree's getting old. It seems fragile with storms coming through. You might want to go ahead and get that tree removed before you have any property damage. Of course, they can also help you with tree trimming to help push back maybe some overgrowth, and you don't need the whole tree removed. You just need to get rid of that overgrowth that's hanging out over the roof, or maybe even blocking the driveway, these sorts of things. And maybe you've got an ugly stump that's making that front or backyard just look awful. You mow around it every few weeks, and you just go, we got to get rid of something. They can do stump grinding there at Clearwater's Property Management. So call up Reed Waters and his team today. That number, 430-0376. That's 430-0376. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that guy on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Have you ever considered turning your home into a rental and build wealth at the same time? People throughout the river region are doing that right now. By investing wisely in the right property or turning your current home into a rental is the secret. Hiring a property manager to professionally manage your property is the way to prosperity. Our company does all of the advertising, personally showing prospective tenants, does a thorough background check and credit report before moving forward. Over 15 critical services are provided to our clients in protecting the asset, but also providing the best residence in your home possible. Collecting rent on time and frequent inspections help landlords feel better about renting their house, and to provide clean, well-kept homes that anybody would be proud to call home. For a complete list of property management services, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Ben here with Just Blinds in Prattville, your trusted source for all things quality and beauty when it comes to window treatments for your home and business. We want to thank our good friends at Blue Water Broadcasting for helping us get our message across to the thousands of Blue Water listeners. Not a day goes by we don't have someone tell us they heard about Just Blinds on Blue Water stations. Radio advertising is a key part of our advertising mix, and we absolutely encourage any business looking to grow to give Blue Water a call.
Blue Water Broadcasting is the #1 most listened to radio group in the river region. Find out how to put this reach to work for your business. Call us to find out how we can help. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folk helping local business.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Montgomery Paint and Body. From a little fender bender to total body repair, MPB will fix it good as new, maybe better. For over 35 years, the Turner family has been getting you back on the road. Call 279-7325.
Well, hi, everybody. Brand new week, but a routine June forecast here with heat, humidity, random storms, but not a lot. I think most towns stay dry today. The best chance of seeing a storm would be in the afternoon and evening hours. With a high today in the mid-90s, triple-digit heat indices with that sun and cloud mix. Low tonight down to about 73. We'll be in the low 90s tomorrow and Wednesday. That's normal, really. And the rain chance is not very good, 20% both days in the afternoon and evening hours. And not much change on Thursday. That's the first day of summer. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Do you have big plans this summer? Dive into summer with an ASE Credit Union vacation loan. Whether you've got a trip coming up, projects at home, or just need a little extra cash, we've got you covered. So don't put your plans on hold. Visit yourasecu.com or stop by and see us today.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Again, in the studio with Eddie and myself, we have Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy with Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. And where we left off is guns. So in particular, Kevin, the question about the permitless carry, the constitutional carry that was passed, I guess, in 22. So it's been around about a year, right? People are wondering what effect that has had on law enforcement being able to do their jobs. And I mean that in a very general way. I remember our conversations before that passed. But as we're looking back, let's remind folks why it was a useful tool. And then I was wondering, did you find any numbers on how many guns were removed, especially illegal firearms were removed, through the people not having a permit to carry?
Well, let me preface this by saying if I don't listen to your show at lunch, I listen to it in podcast, so I know your audience. And the sheriff and I have had these discussions, and the permitless carry law is the law of the land. We respect the people's wishes. The sheriff is a Second Amendment advocate. And so I know this is going to be boring, and there won't be any phone calls coming in, but we respect the law. And now, when the permit law did exist, it was, past tense, it was a useful tool. Assisted law enforcement in getting guns off the streets. I don't think there's enough data or enough time that has elapsed to really try to correlate the permitless law that went into effect in 22 to any increase in gun crime. A lot of the gun crime that I see on social media would have been illegal back then too.
Right.
You know, Glock switches, automatic weapons. I will say this, and I spoke to Ray Williams. He's the chief juvenile probation officer from Montgomery County. And I spoke to Dr. Scott Holmes, who's the director of detention at our youth facility. There are more and more young people being charged with murder, capital murder, manslaughter now than I've ever seen in 40 years. Ray Williams concurred, and so did Dr. Holmes. Presently, there are 13 juveniles in the adult detention facility charged with some form of homicide. There are 7 juveniles in the juvenile facility charged with some type of murder, capital murder, manslaughter. Now, the 13 that are under 18, they're 17 or below, that's not counting those that have aged out. We've charged 16-year-olds with murder, and when they turn 18, they go out of the segregated juvenile cell into the general population. Some of them have been there. They've grown up in our jail.
Yeah.
So there is a very alarming trend of juvenile violent crime. And Ray, who's been in law enforcement for 35 years, he said it's all post-COVID. So again, I mean, I'm not a criminologist. I read a lot and I try to stay as informed as I can, but I don't think anybody can say emphatically that the rise in gun crime has been because of this one thing.
Right.
But I do know that this is an interesting fact that Ray told me this morning. They give a reading aptitude test to every juvenile that comes into the system. And he said nearly 100% of them are illiterate.
Oh, wow.
He said they read and write at a second grade level. And I think, again, listening to the mayor's podcast Thursday, I thought the mayor had some great ideas, some great observations. This is much an educational problem as it is a crime problem. And when you have a segment, a generation that is illiterate, how are they going to function in the world?
Right.
So they turn to crime.
Yeah.
And then there's permissive parenting, which is almost non-existent parenting. And the mother brings someone into the home who is a criminal. He's a member of a gang. He doesn't work. He sells drugs. And she's got small children in the household. How do you think those children are going to be raised? So there's a lot of irons in this fire. And I don't think that we can really point to one thing like permitless carry. Again, the sheriff accepts the will of the people and we accept the law. Our only argument 2 years ago was it was a tool. Mm-hmm. But, when you and I had the conversation over the weekend about how many arrests we have made, well, we haven't made any in the last 2 years because it's not illegal. Mm-hmm. Certainly we've arrested juveniles, if you're 17, possession of a firearm. But as far as if you're 18 years old and you don't fall into one of those categories, like ex-felon or whatever the case, you can have a gun. I know there's been some discussion about maybe moving the age up to 21. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to move the goalpost any. I don't think any of us do. A lot of what we deal with, criminal justice is a social science. And I used to have lengthy conversations with my friends when I was in college about your major's easy. It's mathematics. An absolute. You know that X plus X equals Y. Mm-hmm. Mine is a lot tougher because we don't know the outcomes.
Right.
And so we've been dealing with this phenomenon in my whole life, even when I was a child. Back when the Johnson administration, President Johnson, the war on poverty, we also declared a war on crime, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Have either one of them worked?
Nope.
Poverty still with us, crime still with us, war on drugs. That was a disaster.
Yep. Right.
I'm 100% for anything that we can try to curb it. But I also believe that the silo of a strong law enforcement presence is just as important as the social programs. I like what the mayor's saying about treating the problem. We're treating it on the back end with enforcement, and we're not getting anywhere.
Right.
In my lifetime, I'm 60 years old.
Oh, especially with kids who are illiterate. If you can't communicate, like I know you can speak even if you're illiterate, but if you can't really effectively communicate with folks, like an example I've heard with people who've done the research, and it was part of why some of the crime intervention stuff really worked, is you get to a kid early. Say you're like me or Eddie, I accidentally stepped on your foot at Target. And you'd be, oh, sorry, man.
Yeah.
And you just go about your day. It's not a big deal. But some folks grow up in an environment where any sort of slight could be an escalation, and you're doing it as a defensive mechanism. Yeah. Like, if I don't show I'm tough, I'm going to continue to be abused. So the smallest slights can sometimes come across as a problem, and then you have a communication barrier on top of that.
Right.
I can see why that would cause a huge problem for the young folks, especially.
Talking about literacy, about 2 or 3 years ago, we had an applicant for deputy, and he was in his interview, and I noticed when he was filling out what we call a badge booklet, name, address, then we asked them to write an essay, why I want to be a law enforcement officer. And I noticed in the interview, the handwriting was very different than his application versus the essay. Mm. And I just kind of looked at him. I don't know if I was even half serious. I said, hey, who wrote this? Handed him the essay. And he looked at me and said, my mother. I said, I mean, it did occur to me because the handwriting wasn't the same, but I thought, I mean, this guy couldn't write. Yep. His application was barely legible, but he had to have his mother write his essay. And of course, we didn't offer him employment. There were some issues there, but we have got to attack this. And I've talked to teachers at the high schools who said that this is a real problem. How can you function in the world? I love to read. I know you do too, but I just can't imagine how anybody could really thrive in today's world, not being able to read and write.
And then somebody who's growing up in that environment, that's what they know. They're even at a young age able to get their hands on a firearm that could kill themselves or somebody else very easily. And it makes me wonder, okay, where is most of the problem? Illegal firearms, essentially a so-called black market. Is how do you even begin to also approach this? I'll ask a specific question. We've had folks say, oh, look at these videos of like young guys with their AKs or their AR-15s and stuff, and they're like holding up their guns, brandishing and dancing at a gas station.
Yeah.
Isn't that illegal?
I'm brandishing my weapon. Is that not illegal?
No.
No.
So we got a call, the sheriff's office did, of a gentleman over on Carmichael Road standing in an intersection with the AR-15. It's not against the law.
Right.
If I walked out of the parking lot after leaving the studio and Eddie is standing out there with a gun in his hand, not pointing at anybody, just it's not illegal.
I agree with that. I'm not crazy about it, but I agree with that. But like you're saying, with an AR,
he had it on a sling.
He had carrying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even if he was holding it in his hands, if he's not brandishing it in a threatening manner.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the line is to brandishing or menacing and these sorts of things.
If I'm dancing with my gun.
Yeah, if you're pointing at somebody, but I've seen the videos in Mobile where they all get out of their cars and they're dancing around, holding their guns up.
Right.
There is nothing in the code that you could arrest that person for.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we're an open carry state.
Sure.
So you can.
And that existed long. I've tried to make a point to call it. It was long before the permitless carry. We were open carry.
You know, the sheriff has talked about this quite a bit. Common sense gun legislation. We're all about. You know, here's the irony of all this. Your listeners, we're not worried about them. We're not worried about honest, law-abiding, good people.
Right.
But you know, how do you carve out of all this the people you don't want? You know, it's right now the way the law exists is kind of an all or nothing. Either everyone gets a gun or no one gets a gun, and we're certainly not for that. No, I'm a big gun advocate. So I mean, it's a very, very, very frustrating situation. We're talking about crime reporting. You can look this up on the internet. Alabama's like 98% of the agencies in the state report crime statistics to the FBI. Two of the states with the lowest percentage are Pennsylvania and New York, which are some of the most populous states in the country.
Exactly.
Okay. So, we're represented almost at 100%, but the states with the largest population, and I'm sure Pennsylvania and New York have their share of crime.
Oh, no doubt.
And you can look this up on the internet. You don't have to take my word for it. They're underrepresented. So how does that work out?
Not true numbers then.
Well, and
not at all.
And I know there is obviously a place for statistics and statistical analysis, but I always go back to people credit to Mark Twain. Twain credit to Disraeli, I think, a former British Prime Minister, that damn lies in statistics.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get, unless you're a trained researcher sitting down and looking at methodology, or you can at least trust a given report, I think sometimes it'd be better for folks to just talk common sense and let's say human nature on our political discussions and just kind of think this through. We got another break here and a bunch of calls. Do you have more time than just the hour?
I've cleared my calendar.
Okay.
Excellent, guys.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do is hit a quick break, folks. We'll come to some of these calls. There's so much more to talk about here with Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. This part of the program brought to you by River Region Contracting. And there at River Region Contracting, Todd Clark and his team are ready to help you with that roof of yours. You know, owning a home is one of the most expensive and long-term investments you'll probably have in life. And one of the biggest parts of your home is that roof. So whether you have an asphalt or a metal roof, it should be inspected every 3 to 5 years for preventative maintenance. But Eddie and I have been suggesting get it done every year. Why? Because, well, at River Region Contracting, their inspections and estimates are always free. And if they do find a problem, they're a team of insurance specialists, so they can walk you through that claims process if your insurance might cover that issue, make it a swift and easy experience. They really are that good there at River Region Contracting. That's why a lot of folks calling them the premier roofing contractor here in the area. Give them a call today at 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell them you heard about him here from that fella on the radio, Joey.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man. Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Hello, Montgomery. Mark Talley here, host of The Score on WCOV Fox 20. I'd like to invite you to join us weekday mornings at 6 on Fox 20 for the latest sports news and insight. You can also check out show clips or stream entire episodes of The Score at WCOV.com. On The Score, we bring you the best high school, college, and professional sports news for Central Alabama. Join us on The Score, weekdays, 6 a.m. on WCOV Fox 20.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to the program. This segment, let's do a few phone calls, shall we? Let's go right to the phones, talk to Dick Brubaker on the line. Hey, Dick, how you doing?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. What a great show.
Thank you, Dick.
On what you're talking about, I don't envy anybody in law enforcement right now, but I'm not sure that the problem, statistics ever since the early 2000s have said the number one predictor of whether a kid will graduate from high school, not have a child at wedlock, and not have contact with law enforcement in a negative way is whether or not there are two parents present in the home.
Yes.
It's not even income or education level. It's whether there are two parents present. And that's what we've lost. And until I don't know how you fix that, but until we do, I'm not sure this problem is fixable.
Couldn't agree more.
And, you know, but the whole time I was in public life, we talked about trying to find some way to, you just can't replace parents. The police can't do it. The schools can't do it. And right now in this society, we're asking schools to be parents, and the schools are not equipped to do that. And
100% accurate.
Well, anyway, Sheriff Murphy, I really appreciate you being on the show. Y'all are doing a great job. And Joey, keep it up, man.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the call.
See you, Dick.
No, and the plan is I'll say it now. My plan is to bring on all sorts of officials. And we've talked over the years, but I've yet to talk, I think, on this program to Daryl Bailey. So I'm going to reach out to him and love to do the same thing with him and anybody else concerned who's touching this problem. Because I think there's a virtue to us having separation of powers in different organizations and agencies, but this is becoming where we're not solving the personal responsibility part Dick just brought up. It's going to take all of government folks kind of working together, and I get frustrated by, well, it's the nature of politics, sort of the finger pointing and some of the jousting that goes on, but that's part of it, I guess.
Well, the parenting is being done by that cell phone.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, I agree completely with Senator Brubaker. Nothing can take the place of a alert very attentive parent. And, you know, I think social media has hurt a lot of the young people because there's a new term now, the fear of being left out.
FOMO.
And yeah.
FOMO. Yeah.
And my
deal.
My grandson who's at Troy, he's a student. He's going into his sophomore year. That's a very real phenomenon. You know, there's so much activity going on campus, and there's so many, you know, fraternities and sororities and events and parties and clubs and you know, well, if I'm not included in that one, then my whole life's over. And you know, I've told my grandson, you got to find your place, you know, and you know, like with me, rejection wasn't a bad thing. I remember when I got May certified, it didn't even faze me because most of my dates ended that way. So, you know, you just got to learn to go with flow, brother.
Old Bear Spray Murphy.
That's right. I had grown a tolerance to it over the years.
You could even tell the brand they were using.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's cinnamon. It's pumpkin spice. It must be Paul.
Let's go to Paul B. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul. How you doing, bud?
I am well. Kevin, I just want to commend you for your hard work, and I want to tell everybody out there that Kevin and Derek Cunningham are two of the finest peace officers I've ever met in my career. And I've got 40 years to back that up with.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, one of the things that I really wanted to ask you is, would you take a moment and help people understand the complications involved if Montgomery ever decided they wanted to go to metro policing? I don't think they understand just what issues involve the courts, the jails, and all these other permutations.
It would be a huge undertaking. The legislature would have to get involved. You know, first of all, me personally, I've worked for city government. Now I'm working for the sheriff. I think everyone needs to give Mayor Reed a chance to turn this around. And, you know, a lot of this has been hitting social media, the news lately. But we're not, I don't care who you get in there, police chief or mayor, it's going to take time. Just like with every city in the country, it's going to take time. I think that the profession has been bruised up pretty badly nationwide, but I think with the right touch, you know, like with the sheriff's office, he talks about this all the time. We're going to treat our deputies like adults. The training in the last 40 years has been phenomenal. Heck, police academies didn't even exist in Alabama until the mid-'70s. So when I started in 1984, there was no continuing education. You finished the police academy, that was it. Huh? There wasn't any continuing ed. There wasn't any retraining. Now we have crisis intervention teams, de-escalation. You know, we teach deputies how to deal with fear and frustration. That never happened when I was younger. We had to learn it through the school of hard knocks.
I bet.
So we're actually investing in these officers on a personal level. I look at body cam footage all the time, and I see the things that we train them to do on the streets. But to answer your question, to go to a metro government would be a huge undertaking. And I think maybe we need to push back from the table at the present moment. This is my personal opinion. And just kind of let them sort this out. You know, the sheriff has, under the Constitution, specific duties to the office. And the sheriff has said emphatically from the very beginning of all this, we are assisting the police department. He is having discussions several times a week with the police chief, John Hall. He's talking to, you know, the mayor, county commissioners, citizens. He's been meeting with civic groups. He's very, very engaged in this. We're getting overtime resources. There are deputies out at East Chase. We're backing up the city. Every summer we do an initiative with the city, regardless of the problems that we're facing at the present moment. And we're having one that's about to launch here very soon. But a metro-style government, or law enforcement that is, would be a huge undertaking. I don't know if we're ready for that yet. I don't think we're there yet.
Great question, Paul.
Yeah,
really
it is.
great question. And
appreciate it.
thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you, Paul.
Kevin.
See you, buddy.
And we got our top of the hour break. More with Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy after the break. First, this part of the program brought to you by another brand new sponsor of the show. I'm loving all these brand new sponsors, Eddie.
Yeah.
All Pro Heating, Air, and Electrical. And they're at All Pro Heating, Air, and Electrical, located there in Tallahassee, Alabama. They're ready to serve the river region and surrounding areas. They can be your one-stop shop for all HVAC and electrical needs.
Yeah.
They offer financing with approved credit. And so whether you need electrical services or maybe a new generator, and they can install those top-of-the-line Generac generators.
Those are the best, baby.
So if it's crucial, it can be. Power outages are annoying to me. Oh, I lost internet. I can't watch my stupid show. Like,
so bad
fake
here.
Dr. Phil's on tonight.
It's not so bad here in the city, but in the rural, man, sometimes just a little bit of a wind and boof. There
Or
goes your
people
power.
have medical devices too
Yes.
that they need to have power
That's
for.
right.
There can be a lot of very crucial reasons to make sure that power doesn't go out. All Pro Heating, Air, and Electrical can help you with a generator setup, or of course they can get you a top of the line heating and air system. It's good to get it checked up if you haven't already.
Heck yeah.
It's hot, and one summer it went out when it was in the middle of summer for me. You don't want to go through it.
No.
You want to call All Pro first. So you can always go to allproheatingair.com. That's allproheatingair.com, or give them a call at 301-1961. That's 301-1961. And be sure to tell them that Joey and Eddie, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Firefighters have increased containment of a large wildfire in the mountains north of Los Angeles after a weekend of explosive growth along Interstate 5. The post-fire is 8% contained after scorching nearly 23 square miles and forcing the evacuation of at least 1,200 people from a recreation area. Authorities say 6 people, including 3 children, have been killed in a fire that destroyed a home southwest of Atlanta. Newnan is about 40 miles southwest of Atlanta. Few other details have been made available. No names have been released. In Round Rock, Texas, a shooting at a park left 2 people dead, several wounded. It happened during a Juneteenth celebration at Old Settlers Park, 19 miles north of Austin. The Dow had 97 points, the NASDAQ up 149. This is SRN News.
Government debt is now exploding by an unprecedented $1 trillion every 90 days. Think of that. It's a clear sign that our nation's finances are spinning out of control, and it's putting the savings of every one of you at risk. Hello, I'm Lance Wallnow, a news analyst and best-selling author and an evangelical leader. I'm deeply concerned about the impact this runaway debt is going to have on Christians like you who have worked hard to build your own nest egg for your family. To protect your financial future in these uncertain times, you need to diversify with something tangible and proven, like physical gold. That's why I recommend a gold IRA. To learn more, text FAITH to the number 989898, and my friends at Birch Gold Group will rush you a free info kit on how to move your IRA or 401k to physical precious metals, tax and penalty free. So don't wait. Just text the word FAITH to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold Group is the only company I trust. There's no obligation. So text FAITH to 989898, and I pray this information helps you achieve prosperity and peace of mind.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Well, hi, everybody. Brand new week, but a routine June forecast here with heat, humidity, random storms, but not a lot. I think most towns stay dry today. The best chance of seeing a storm would be in the afternoon and evening hours. With a high today in the mid-90s, triple-digit heat indices with that sun and cloud mix. Low tonight down to about 73. We'll be in the low 90s tomorrow and Wednesday. That's normal, really. And the rain chance is not very good, 20% both days in the afternoon and evening hours. And not much change on Thursday. That's the first day of summer. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, these are today's top stories.
A Montgomery man has died in a weekend automobile accident in Lowndes County. 36-year-old David Comer was killed just after midnight Saturday morning when the car he was driving left the road, hit a utility pole, and overturned. The wreck happened on Highway 80 about 8 miles north of Hayneville. The grace period is over. Alabama's hands-free law is now in full effect as of June 15th. The law prohibits using electronic devices such as cell phones while driving. Being caught on your phone while driving will cost you a $50 fine and 1 point on your driver's license. A motorcycle rally was held Saturday in memory of Lowndes County Sheriff Big John Williams. All proceeds from the rally will go towards a scholarship fund in Big John's name, benefiting Lowndes County high school seniors. The trial date for the man accused of Big John's murder is set for October 7th of this year. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Good morning. Do you have time for lunch today? My treat.
Absolutely. But what's the occasion?
I'm in love with the new 24/7 Express kiosk at Worth Cleaners. The kiosk is so easy to use, and I can drop off and pick up on my schedule. Thank you for sharing that tip with me.
You're welcome. I'm happy to have my lunch buddy back.
Have you tried the new Worth Cleaners 24/7 Express kiosk? This is the first service of its kind in Montgomery. Customers love the convenience of dropping off and picking up dry cleaning and laundry on their schedule, day or night, 365 days a year. Even if you've never used Worth Cleaners before, you can go to their location at 7825 Vaughn Road today and use their 24/7 Express kiosk. Instructions along with several descriptive photos are posted on the wall next to the kiosk to aid customers who are first-time users. Give it a try. Visit our Vaughn Road location or find Worth Cleaners on Facebook for more information. Your family's clothing is worth it.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
This is how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. If you do want to watch a show, just go to Joey Clark Live on YouTube, or you can watch on Facebook on my profile, or on Twitter X at the Joey Clark. For those who are just tuning in online, say through X, this is just a humble talk radio show out of Montgomery, Alabama. So we cover all sorts of issues, and in the studio with us today, we have Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. And we got a bunch more calls rolling in here, so let's go to the phones and talk to Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank Chief. I appreciate you coming in and talking to us. Can you quickly give us an overview of how a chief of police in the city system is chosen? And then I might have a comment afterward, because I have a little bit of disagreement of what you were saying on how this all kind of played out here in the city of Montgomery. So if you wouldn't mind that.
Well, the chief of police in Montgomery is an appointed position by the mayor under Act 618 of the Alabama Code. It's a mayoral appointment, so you work at the pleasure of the mayor. He can just pick he can pick whoever he wants. Obviously, they have to be post-certified, have to be a law enforcement officer, but it is a mayoral appointment.
So with that being said, if he's a Chief Albert that we had here before, right? And he had some issues when he was in New Orleans. He is then appointed, and that baggage was known prior to him coming to Montgomery. He was then placed in as chief of police in the city of Montgomery with that baggage, and it continued on through his whole time, his tenure as chief of police. Then we find out about some other stuff going on in the city system, in the MPD, and all this other stuff comes to light. I don't know legally where it is now, but how can we not assume, or how can we not hold the mayor who appointed the chief of police, how can we not hold him responsible for allowing someone like Albert to be in that position, knowing what he possibly knew? Because there is a vetting process, I assume.
I see your point. I mean, the mayor's elected by the people, and then the mayor gets to appoint the police chief. So it's his call. It's his call. Just like the sheriff. The sheriff gets to appoint his chief deputy. I'm an appointed official. I work at the pleasure of the sheriff. So, I guarantee you, I've known Sheriff Cunningham for 35, almost 36 years. He vetted me, I promise you. I've known him. He and I were rookies on the streets together. We worked in detective division together. When he left to become the chief deputy at the sheriff's office, he and I maintained a very close relationship. The day I got sworn in as the police chief, he walked up to shake my hand. I said, I still want to be your chief deputy. And then 4 years later, I did.
And y'all both came out of the MPD system?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and with that being said, it seems to me that we're losing a lot of good cops out of the MPD system right now.
They have.
I've grown up here all my life, and I remember the days of some of the same officers coming through my neighborhood as a child, and those days are gone because these poor men and women are scattered throughout all of the city who don't have enough police officers. And now, unfortunately, we're having to take the sheriff's time for y'all to have to come into the city system and help us out.
Well, we're doing that on an overtime basis. The sheriff was emphatic about not compromising the safety of the citizens in the county and the mission of the sheriff's office, which there's a civil division. So we are not exhausting resources. We are actually just expanding them.
Well, has maybe Mayor Reed or anybody reached out to you and said, hey, y'all have grown up through the MPD system. Obviously know law enforcement throughout the country. Can you help me get some ideas of some people that would be a good candidate to become chief of police of the city of Montgomery?
I know that Sheriff Cunningham has spoken to the mayor. I know that they have spoken about these issues. Yes, sir.
Well, my point is, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't have confidence that the mayor, after what happened with this last chief of police and even the prior one before that, whatever the situation was with that, my problem is I don't think the city of Montgomery, the citizens of Montgomery can have the confidence he's going to place somebody there that's the best man or woman for the job. And my fear is that's also contributing to the problems we're having in MPD. So I don't know what the answer is going to be, but I would hopefully say that people in law enforcement, like you yourself, could be chief of police. I mean, I don't know, or Derek Cunningham or somebody, guide Mayor Reed to find the best person suited for that job. And it's not a political position. And, I just, to me, I as a citizen in the city of Montgomery, I haven't lost confidence in MPD. They're doing all they can do with what they've got. But I've lost confidence in the political system getting us a chief of police who is somebody that those patrol officers and women and men are supposed to be looking up to as a leader.
Well, Chris, a lot of your concerns, why I keep saying this, the mayor is the mayor. He was just reelected, and one of the biggest choices he will make is who is this new chief. And
Absolutely.
he can address your concerns with that choice. And again, at time, to Kevin's point he made earlier, a lot of stuff does take time. So even with the right person in there as chief, it might take another year or two to really start turning things around. And then when you talk about recruiting, that is an even longer term thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pay structure I know is an issue and all that kind of stuff, but I don't understand to me, and I don't want to take any more time, but I don't understand why the sheriff's department can stay fully staffed, but the Montgomery police department cannot, and we're hemorrhaging police officers.
You know, I
what is the
just said
what's
that
the reason?
I've known Sheriff Cunningham for a long time, really my whole adult life, my career. And I tease him all the time. He's the GOAT. He's the Nick Saban of law enforcement. But he, a few years back when our recruiting efforts were kind of waning, the sheriff kind of redrew the line, and we started TikTok, social media, Instagram. And you wouldn't believe the response that we got. These younger people, that's just how they communicate. Mm-hmm. So the old paper application, and we actually made it to where they could apply for a job as a deputy on their cell phone. And we have recruited some really good people. A lot of people say, these days, the younger generation, we've got some incredible young people that work for us that are dedicated and loyal and smart and hardworking. Show up for work early. I mean, they're out there. You just got to find them. And, the sheriff, Assistant Chief Richardson, he's a phenomenal guy. And, we got a great staff. One of the things that I saw Sheriff Cunningham pull off I've worked for him for almost 10 years in January. He, along with his senior staff, almost all of them have a graduate degree. He has a PhD, Dr. Scott Holmes. He's the director of detention at the juvenile facility. We have a PhD on staff. I'd say probably 60 or 70% of our senior staff have, master's degrees. That's something the sheriff really encourages is education and training, and he set the bar. He's got a graduate degree, and he's got a lot of specialized training. He's been to the FBI National Academy. He's been to the National Sheriff Association training. I mean, it's just phenomenal, his resume. But again, that's how you build a really professional law enforcement agency. We stress education, we stress training, treat people like adults. So when we started reaching out to the younger generation through these social media platforms, we also, encourage them to, go back to school, get your degree while you work here. And it's paid off. I mean, we've done remarkably well. A lot of these younger deputies have their act together. I'm very proud of them.
I appreciate the call, Chris. Really do.
Well, y'all, I think that's a great resource, and I believe that what y'all are doing is the key, and I think people need to be connected with y'all to figure this whole situation out in MPD.
Chris, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
That's all right.
Forget, the sheriff also gave every member of the agency a recruiting incentive. Go out and recruit your friends, and we'll give you a bonus. I've actually recruited some deputies myself, and I haven't taken any of I think the sheriff owes me about $10,000. I'm kidding. But again, the sheriff said everybody's a recruiter.
Yeah.
And so,
those are the people you want because you know who they are. They're in the community.
Right.
I mean, y'all are doing a phenomenal job. I think this could be localized MPD, and you're a great resource. I don't even know why we have to step outside of our area to find anybody else. But I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
One thing about an expectation, Minneapolis Police Department actually just sent out an announcement nationwide. I just got it last week, and I sent it to the sheriff. Hey, this is going to be a tough job to fill. Minneapolis Police Chief. It's where the George Floyd.
Sure. So, it's going to be a tough one.
Their numbers have plummeted. They had a precinct burned to the ground. I mean, that agency has been through hell. But any police chief, whether you're in Minneapolis or Montgomery, Seattle, Baltimore, doesn't matter. LAPD, New York. This is the time where a police chief's last place should be sitting at their desk.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be out in the field, on the radio, visible to their officers, going to roll calls, community meetings. I feel sorry for the husband or wife of this police chief because they ain't going to see him a whole lot. That's how, like Chris just called, I loved some of his observations. That's how you're going to turn it around. That's I guess you guys can tell my fondness of the sheriff. That's, he's always leading from the front. He goes to calls. The city was chasing, and we do assist the city. The city was chasing a suspect with a gun, and he shows up at the scene. And before I could get there, they got the guy in custody, so I didn't even show up. And I told him I didn't get home till 7:30 that night. And he looked at me like, I said, I was out with an 18-wheeler that was blocking the entire stretch of 231. I said, and then after an hour of getting it cleared off, I was just about home, and I ran across a stray dog with a tag on it and was trying to find its home and was able to rescue the little guy. And when I walked in, I asked my wife what was for dinner, and she said, "You're having Cheerios tonight." But again, the sheriff was going to that call.
Yeah. Right.
And he did. He showed up because one of the MPD officers said, "I can't believe the sheriff." I said, when he was young and I was on the streets, he quickly made a name for himself in this city, in this community. And the term affectionately given to your sheriff back when he was like a early 20-something police officer was Black Jesus.
Black?
And I often tell him, I said, "What would they call you?" He said, "Oh, they call me Black Jesus." But again, I remember I spoke at an academy graduation about 2 years ago, and I was describing this young police officer. It was so engaged with the public and so accessible, and that they had affectionately called him Black Jesus. And then I talked some more about law enforcement and what to expect when they got out there. And when I got to the end of the speech, I said, "Do you remember the officer I told you about? What kind of success do you think he enjoyed later in life?" Of course, the young men and women were like, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "He's your sheriff."
Yeah.
And I looked over at Derek, and he just started smiling. He's worked very hard. Yeah. And I think, I'm seeing it. The community's really turning to him for answers, and he's going to help solve this problem. But again, he knows that his primary focus is being the sheriff, running his agency. He's assisting the police department, giving advice, talking to citizens, but he's not taking his eye off the ball.
Well, and this is a weird way for me to put it, but there's a joke making the rounds like, do we live in a simulation? And you got to wonder, do you ever see your neighbor coming outside the house, actually taking out the garbage? Or you worked with somebody for a few years, like I work at Fun Zone folks, and then you never see them again. Were they even real? Am I even My point is, I remember at Fun Zone seeing Derek Cunningham, and even in that moment, I'm like, oh, that man's real.
He is.
There's something, there's an X factor there. And he very much deserves the credit. Let's go to Jenny. Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Joe. This is your Jenny. Jenny Johnston.
How you doing?
Oh, hey, Jenny.
Hey. I'm good. I'm well, Deputy Chief. Thank you for all that you're doing and you've done and you've always done. Ashley wanted me to tell you hello.
Tell him hello,
my
too.
son he's an entrepreneur. He's fixed to be 28 years old.
Wow.
So he's living down in Gulf Shores, running his own deal, owning his own company. Chapman became a Marine. But I just wanted to ask you a few questions. I don't go out at night. I won't. I live in Old Cloverdale, and you go halfway down Fairview Avenue, and your life is in danger. And it's not your fault. It's just the way Montgomery is. I pray for these poor kids that are getting shot, and I was wondering if you still have CompStat. Is that what it was called?
They do. I asked Chief Hall, and he said they do still utilize CompStat.
Good. That was the coolest thing that I think I've seen y'all do, and you were just like this savant in it. It was really, really neat. And Ashley wanted me not to say hello, but he'll never forget the day you borrowed him from me while we were in studio.
I remember.
And you took him shooting.
Yeah.
And it was the highlight of his life up until that moment.
Well, he's a fine young man.
He is absolutely a fine young man. But do you guys still, I don't know how you get recruits. Oh, my goodness. Because it's like Moses with the Israelites. Everyone's moving to Pike Road and Wetumpka and Travel and Millbrook. Again, not your fault. It's like Dick said, there's not two parents in the house anymore. And, well, not very many in those certain areas, I'm sure. But do you guys still do that gun safety training course?
We do.
Like on Saturdays still?
We do.
Saturdays from like 8 to 4 or something?
It wraps up a little bit after lunch, like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. I'll find out where to go and how to get that done. My husband bought me a Hellcat for Christmas, last Christmas, and I can't shoot the thing. I can shoot a rifle, and I've always been a huntress, whatever. But I can't shoot it. I can't cock it because it's brand spanking new, and I've oiled it, and I've gotten it all cleaned up. But I can't cock it, and I'm not about to go and take the gun with me anywhere if I haven't been trained. So that's why I was wondering
maybe he bought you that gun on purpose so you couldn't shoot it.
No, I can't shoot him.
That's right.
Well, I can't do the gun safety course. I got an arm in a sling right now.
Oh.
One of my dogs knocked me down the stairs.
832-4980, and it'll get you to the right person to
hang on,
register.
say that one more time.
832
okay.
4980.
4980.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can just ask the person who answers the phone. You'll get a menu of a number to punch, and then they'll get you to the right person.
Okay, that sounds good. It's just living in Montgomery. I feel like it's not only extremely important for me to know how to use the gun, but be able to, I need training.
Sure. Right.
But, my oldest son and his wife and 3 kids, they all live in Wetumpka. They will not move to Montgomery. And I'm hoping and praying that the crime will get less and less and less and less. Of course, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how
I tell people all the time, we're all connected to Montgomery, whether you live in Wetumpka or Prattville or Millbrook, Pike Road. And you look at state government is a huge employer, and look at the River Bridge, look at Vaughn Road or 85.
Yeah.
People come in the morning, work, and go home in the evening. So, if Montgomery falls, those other cities are going to fall too. So we got to work together.
Yes, sir. I completely agree. And you have always done such a fantastic job, either as chief of police or deputy chief, what you're doing now.
I've always been around good people.
Well,
I can't
it brings
take credit
everyone. Well, yeah, sure you can. Well, okay, we'll give your wife credit.
There you go. You just saved my life.
Yeah, you did.
What's that Elton John song? You just saved my life.
We will give her credit for everything.
There you go.
I blame Trey Gowdy's wife for his hair.
Still on that.
Anyway, that's ridiculous. I really, actually, Kevin, deputy chief, whatever. I don't call in shows, and I don't really. I listen, I pay attention, but as Joey can tell you, I think I've called him once.
Yeah.
But I just keep up with it. But when your blood pressure's like 175 or 120, and your hair started thin, you're like, okay, I've got to get out of radio and be. Anyway, I don't know how you do what you do, but I just love you to death. I appreciate your heart for this job. And your heart.
I love doing it. After 40 years, I'm still excited every day to go to work.
I know. 40.
How old are you?
60. I'll be 61 in 2 weeks.
Well, okay. Good grief. I have no idea. I just turned 67.
It ain't the age, it's the mileage.
If you raised a child, it was either going to be a hard criminal or a Marine. He chose the latter. I'm disabled now.
I ran into a young officer at the bank a while back, and he said, "Chief, when you were at the city, you were so strict and wanted everything the right way." And, Your expectations were so high. I used to complain about you all the time. He said, but I wish you were back. I said, you want no blood and guts back? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, that's very kind, but
blood and guts.
I found a new home. I'm very happy with the sheriff.
Well, Jenny, it's great hearing from you. It really is.
Good to hear from both y'all, and you're doing a fantastic job. You too, Joey.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Take care.
272-9228. If you want to get in, we got to hit another break here. First, before the break, we have a sponsor, Montgomery Men's Health. You know about brother.
That's right, brother.
They're at Montgomery Men's Health. They can help you men out. Now, it could be that you're noticing lack of energy, lack of motivation, lack of drive. It's always tired, including a decrease in that sex drive.
Could be.
Could be low testosterone causing that issue. And I know, guys hate going to the doctor, right? And I certainly do. But Montgomery Men's Health was created to take care of guys just like us. It's a place where you'll feel welcome. They're discreet. And if you really do want to figure out if you're having all these symptoms, just feel like you're walking through your life in a fog, knowing whether or not you have low T is huge in combating these issues. And so the providers there at Montgomery Men's Health would conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And they have low T treatments there that can truly change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. Brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism. You usually even notice an increased libido.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
There's a lot right with it, in fact, Eddie. So call them today, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Honey, did you call an electrician to put in that new bathroom outlet?
No, I thought I'd just get Cousin Ray.
He's not a real electrician.
Oh, Ray's handy. He can do anything.
Being handy and being an electrician are two different things. Electricity is complicated and potentially dangerous. Each year there are thousands of home fires caused by faulty wiring. You need an expert. To wear the Crosby Electric uniform, you have to undergo background checks, drug testing, continuing education, and rigorous safety training. When you need electrical work, or if you just like someone to assess your home for safety, call the experts at Crosby Electric.
So, how about that nice outlet Ray installed in the bathroom?
Do you think it's safe?
It's fine. See, when I plug in my electric razor, it...
Now the lights are out. I am not sleeping a wink until you get Crosby Electric out here.
Don't take chances with electricity. Call the experts at Crosby Electric, 272-2085, or visit us at crosbyelectric.com.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Ernest. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values. This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. an equal housing lender.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the River region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
Weather is brought to you by the Johnny Adams Law Firm.
Your health and well-being can quickly be impacted by changing weather. The Johnny Adams Law Firm wants you to remain safe and be weather alert with the Rich Thomas Weather Network.
Well, hi, everybody. Brand new week, but a routine June forecast here with heat, humidity, random storms, but not a lot. I think most towns stay dry today. The best chance of seeing a storm would be in the afternoon and evening hours. With a high today in the mid-90s, triple-digit heat indices with that sun and cloud mix. Low tonight down to about 73. We'll be in the low 90s tomorrow and Wednesday. That's normal, really. And the rain chance is not very good, 20% both days in the afternoon and evening hours. And not much change on Thursday. That's the first day of summer. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
John Bobo with Capital Tractor. Have you heard the news? Capital Tractor will soon be moving to a brand new location in Montgomery. With lots of Kubota inventory, we're going to sell it instead of move it. Our big moving sale is a great time to get a great deal on a Kubota at Capital Tractor in Montgomery.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. And we got some more calls rolling in here. Again, sitting here with Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. I said department last week, and somebody wrote me a long letter.
Yes, it is an office.
Yes.
That's at Sheriff 101 when I became a new deputy for Sheriff Cunningham. That was one of the things that I was told right off the bat.
Some guy wrote me a long message in a very nice way talking about his dad got in on his ass for saying that one time. And I'm like, you know what? If your father did that, I'd take it. I will never say that again.
It's the office of sheriff.
Let's go to Kim. Hey, Kim.
Hi.
Hey, Kim.
How are y'all today?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Chief Murphy, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you ever think that the Montgomery County Sheriff Department and the Montgomery Police Department could combine and become like a metro police department, kind of like up north?
There's been some conversations about that. A previous caller had asked the same question. Everything that the sheriff's office does is mandated by the Constitution and the legislature. So in order for that to happen, a lot of sweeping laws would have to be enacted, passed through both houses, and then signed by the governor. I don't know if that's even really a topic of discussion. I mean, it could be done, and then the sheriff would become the chief. Well, he is the chief law enforcement officer for the county already, but he would take over the city police department and, of course, the sheriff's office. And everybody would be a deputy. You would see the blue uniforms go away, and the Montgomery Police Department would no longer exist. Every law enforcement officer would work for the sheriff. That's a pretty big plateau to climb. And again, I don't think we're even close to that yet. I think, honestly, I believe that the city is going to work all this out. It's just going to take time. But to answer your question, there has been discussions about it.
Okay, well, just in case they, decide to do that, they can always, the sheriff can put you over the police department since that's where you came from and you know how everything is ran over there. So that was just a question.
Well, honestly, I wouldn't be over the police department. The sheriff would be.
Okay.
Again, the sheriff would be the de facto police chief. So that would, you're very kind to say that, but if that were to occur, the sheriff would be the chief law enforcement officer, not me.
Okay.
I would be there to support him, and like I do now, I do whatever he says.
Yes, sir.
Again, I think we're a long, long way away from that. I think all this is going to work out. It's just going to take a little time to turn it around.
Okay.
Well, appreciate the call, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too.
Let's go to Duke. Hello, Duke.
What up, Duke?
Hey, I finally got on after I've been dropped twice some kind of wheel away today. Yeah, I've been listening. How you doing, Chief Murphy?
Good, Duke. How are you?
I'm fine. I'd like to expand on the open carry a little bit. I heard you earlier just saying that y'all, that's the law and y'all, abide by the law or whatever, but I heard the Sheriff Cunningham 3 weeks ago on the Cavern Show talk about the fact that, your hands are tied to a certain extent when you run up on an individual that got a car full of guns on a seat or whatever, and you see those guns, and there's a limit amount you can do.
There are, yeah.
Okay, so that's where that law come in to hinder you guys and not have some of these individuals don't have a permit as well. So I want to hear your response about that, sir. First of all,
when these laws were passed, open carry and permitless carry, almost 65% of the counties in Alabama are rural. So then you're looking at the counties with large populations and large cities. These types of laws affect the rural counties very differently than the counties with major metropolitan areas. So there's a term called a metropolitan statistical area, an MSA. So for all intents and purposes, Montgomery has about a population of 450,000 now.
Right.
Really only got a population of 193,000. But if you take into account the MSA, Metropolitan Statistical Analysis, you look at travel. Yeah. So again, this is a big metropolitan area. So these laws affect us at a greater degree than they do, let's say, Cherokee County or, we're like up north, the northwest part, Hamilton, Alabama, Wilcox County, I think that is. They don't have the same issues dealing with crime that Montgomery County does. So just like we talked about earlier about, Joey brought out the fact of policing in these other cities, Boston versus Montgomery would be different. And then we even dug or drilled down deeper, even communities within the city, crime is affected differently. These gun laws affect some areas of the city worse than others.
And my thing is, when I brought it up, I've been talking to Joey about it. I seen the firsthand before the video came out in Mobile.
Yeah.
I've seen some guys in Montgomery posted up like that at gas stations and in the daytime or whatever, and to the average citizen, that will spook you when you see it, because these guys got the gun out already. You got to get yours. I don't want to go somewhere at a gas station where I got to, be posted up, say cop boss or with these individuals. So
no one does.
Matter of fact, one of your ex-officers called me this morning out of the blue, and he and I got on that subject matter. He was at an event this past weekend where the young guy was out hanging out like that with the guns out, and they had the shirts off when they swinging around. You know how they do.
Yeah.
But he said he felt so uncomfortable as that. My thing is they could wave it up and accidentally shoot you at any time, or just shoot you because you look at them wrong.
Right.
But so I was in Mobile actually a few weeks ago, and a couple weeks ago since that incident, I passed by that gas station. I had a friend live in that area. Nice neighborhood. No customers at all. I'm talking about that. That's what you get here in the city, all over Montgomery. If these guys go to East Chase and places like that and post up, the customer and not coming to that store anymore.
No. Well,
so
Joey has said this before. It's such an accurate term. A firearm is a great equalizer, and you put a gun, a pistol, a Glock, or a Glock with a Glock switch on it, and put it in the hands of a 14 or 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Their brains aren't even fully formed yet.
Yeah.
Right. What do you
I'm
think
gonna say
it
one more
does?
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you think it does to their psyche?
Right.
It isn't good. I can tell you
well,
that.
and where my mind's at is like, who's there to talk to them?
Exactly.
You're like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Right.
The thing about it, you got grown people out here doing this same crap.
Very true.
Doing, but, matter of fact, there's a guy called Calvin Eccles show last week and said that he was at an interstation somewhere, and both of y'all try to go at the same time sometimes. So he just waved at the guy, told him to go ahead. So he saw the guy pull up and turn around in the road. He didn't know what the guy was up to. Yeah, the guy got out of the car and pointed a gun at it. See? They ain't got to do with open carry, but just how crazy people are nowadays with these guns. You know, everybody don't need guns.
Well,
okay.
The United States is a gun culture.
Mm-hmm.
And,
there we are. Okay.
we are.
That's why it's
That's what I
very
think.
difficult to compare us to like developed countries in Europe because weapons, pistols, guns are so much of the American history and culture, the Wild West, the Second
I know
Amendment.
my guns. You know, I had them since I was a little boy. You know, growing
Well,
up.
and the term militia used to really mean something too.
Sure.
Where people would police themselves essentially.
But that law, I don't like the law, so that's my point for calling, sir. And I know you guys got to tolerate it. I know you don't like it, but you got to tolerate it because, governor said that's the way it is, so that's the way it is. It is what it is, as the young folks say, right?
Yep. Law of the land.
Guns have been around as long as I've been alive.
There you
so,
go, man. Yeah, yes. But we didn't expect for these. And one other thing I got to say, all these kids, all these people out here that you talking about, that uneducated, there's a lot of small ones out here, too, that run in the system, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
How slick in us
You know,
are y'all, or all of us?
All of us.
Okay. All right, have a great day.
Thank you, Duke.
The mayor was talking about some of the programs that he wants to implement. And I just want the citizens to know the sheriff, earlier this year, we started the Ignite program. And it's a program that helps educate the people that are incarcerated in the detention facility. And we brought in partners from Trenum and different entities and trying to teach them skills. And the sheriff just recently implemented a family support unit for the families of incarcerated because, if your loved one's in jail, you still need money to pay the power bill and groceries. So, the sheriff is not just focused on the law and order. He is. It's one of the top priority. But he's also focused on rehabilitation, helping the community, the families, helping these inmates, getting their GED. We have drug treatment programs and alcohol programs. And, some of them are getting classes on getting their CDL license. And there was an example up in Flint, Michigan, where this guy was in jail, took a CDL, took the practical test, graduated, passed. He owns his own trucking company now.
Nice.
And that's the sheriff's goal. When he saw that program, he thought, we're doing that in Montgomery County. We are. The program exists today. So again, it's not all about lock them up.
Sure.
The sheriff is really focused on giving back to the community too.
Yeah, it's just the point I was trying to reiterate with Mayor Reed is the order part of law and order. And I was more not just picking on him in particular. I've noticed there are times when the real smart liberal folks start talking, and there are plenty of very smart liberal folks. They sort of talk about how crime is sort of a price of our freedom. And I find that loathsome, especially the older I get. And I'm not saying we need to go and be like El Salvador with Bukele or anything like that, or be like China or Russia. But there does seem like in America's own history, there were mayors, there were police departments, and other, say, law enforcement elements that would not tolerate this stuff. And
Correct.
One bit. And it seems like recently there is more a narrative of we're hurting too many folks by locking them up or by being tough on crime. And I think we're all in agreement that it does take all of the above approach, that not everybody needs that tough love, so to speak. But I just find there's something about this mindset where we tolerate like playing roulette, going out down one street in a big city. And it's like, why shouldn't I be able to, if I live here, to walk down the street and to be safe without running that risk?
Well, one basic example is, you talk about law and order, is drive down any street, the interstate, Vaughn Road, the boulevard, and you see speeding, reckless driving every day.
Yep.
And it reminded me of a quote from Dudley Moore that said one of the best safety mechanisms in a car is a rearview mirror with a cop in it. And there's a lot of truth to that.
That's a lot of truth in that.
I was a motor officer for 5 years at MPD, and we had about 6 60 motor officers in the city, some on first shift, some on second. And we enforced the law. We wrote tickets. We were visible. We had a presence. You know, I came up under a generation that was taught by the older guys who, Big John McClenny, Lieutenant McClenny would tell us young guys, give plenty of warnings. So we did. Of course, the people that got tickets weren't real happy about that because they got a hard copy and not a warning. But I told my mother-in-law, it's okay. Your time will come. But, you know, again, the visibility is sometimes all it took.
Right.
We'd be out on the boulevard or Atlanta Highway, and you might catch one person speeding and pull them over and write them a ticket. But, you know, the presence is a deterrence. Seeing those blue lights is a deterrence. So, again, you know, that basic fundamental enforcement can lead to broader safety. You know, bad guys don't tend to stick around when they see blue lights.
Well, and I just don't want to see a power vacuum, which would invite in other elements that I don't think anybody wants here in town.
Well, that's a very real problem now, isn't it? Especially with the Latino community.
Yep.
Because that's happened in other cities where they didn't feel protected. And before you know it, MS-13 is, and I had a Latino gentleman tell me just recently, they can be worse than the criminals. Well, they are criminals.
Yeah.
But they exploit, take money. And this guy owns a business and said this happened to him in Houston. He said, I couldn't make a living. So he moved to Montgomery. We don't want that. No. It's going to make it even worse.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of out of time here because we got Michael Cohen coming up. I mean, you're welcome to stick around, though. We're continuing to field calls if you have.
I'd be happy to.
Excellent. Before we hit this break and get in touch with Michael, this part of the program, in fact, the entire hour brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And they're at Alabama Home Mortgage. Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon are ready to help you with whether you're looking to buy or refinance. And, you know, a lot of folks are refinancing these days because, well, they're looking to deal with credit card debt or any sort of debt, looking to consolidate it. And yes, mortgage rates are much higher than they were in the recent years past. But 7, 8, even 9% on a mortgage is much less than, say, 24 or 29% APR on that credit card. Or maybe you don't really have a debt issue. You're just looking to rearrange your finances, to reinvest in yourself, your family, your property in some way. A refinance deal is a great way to go about it there at Alabama Home Mortgage. So call them today at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 special. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
The Tierce family has been your local Roto-Rooter service since 1964. Drain cleaning, plumbing repair, and those troublesome septic tanks, no problem. Technology has changed a bit in the last 54 years. Video inspections of lines to locate problems is available, as well as scheduling your appointment online. River Region residents have trusted Roto-Rooter for over half a century. You can too. Call today at 272-7130 or visit online at rotorooteralabama.com.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name, and legal troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back, folks, to News and Views in the afternoon. Sometimes the off-air conversation is, well, it's really where it's at, but, you know, that's off-air. You'll have to join us in the studio someday. Let's go to the phones to talk to Michael Cohen of Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Doing quite well. I'm feeling good today. How's it going there at Cohen's?
And it's been a great day. You know, last Friday, we have some of the nicest customers, but we had a nice older gentleman that came in, and he was very complimentary of us, but he also gave us a check to give to the temple or whatever we wanted, you know, to help with the Jews in Israel.
Oh, wow.
And which to me is very touching. I guess we're just blessed and fortunate that we have such nice customers that have those concerns. And of course, we're over here a million miles away from all of that. But anyway, other than that, I mean, it's been a great day. Michael Jackson off and running at 8 o'clock this morning, and my delivery crew is out delivering new products, new washers and dryers and refrigerators, and it's been a good day.
Well, and you know, that's the beautiful part about being a local business. You really do get to know people, they get to know you, and it goes beyond just the sales and the things people buy. There's some economists that I once followed, and he always talked about actually commerce is kind of an act of love. And I first heard that, and I'm like, what is this? And he's right, though. I think it builds up a community in its own way. And I know y'all been doing that there for 65 plus years now at Cohen.
That's right. That's right. And you know, I never could understand when I was a kid how these people would come into the record shop and tell my dad their life story and about their daughter or their son that was on the other side of the United States somewhere, and what their trials and tribulations were. And I was like, you know, we're just a store that sells electronics, and yet somebody's sharing all this information unsolicited. And then as you get older, you realize that it is a relationship. And when they do come in to buy a TV, you're the one that sells it to them, and they know that if there's a problem, they can call us. And then I guess also, like you said, being here for 65 plus years, I mean, it just keeps building, which we've been very fortunate with all of that.
It's happened in my family through the generations. So y'all can join the family there at Cohen's. ThinkCohens.com if you want to check it out from home, ThinkCohens.com. But I really encourage you to stop by the Boulevard, 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. They're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And be sure to find Michael
one of the great team members and tell them, hey, you heard Michael on the radio with Joey and Eddie, those two dopes.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Michael.
See you, Michael.
Y'all have a great day.
You too, brother.
Take care.
Final hour coming up. Kevin Murphy sticking around. We'll be right back, folks.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. A Russian court says the espionage trial in Russia of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich will begin on June 26th. Gershkovich, a U.S. citizen, has been behind bars since his March 2023 arrest and faces 20 years in prison if convicted. The reporter, his employer, and the U.S. government deny the allegations. Maryland Governor Wes Moore will sign an executive order. It will issue more than 175,000 pardons for marijuana convictions. Recreational cannabis has been legalized in Maryland since 2023. The Post fire north of Los Angeles now 8% contained after forcing the evacuation of at least 1,200 people from a recreational area on Saturday. This is SRN News.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Well, hi, everybody. Brand new week, but a routine June forecast here with heat, humidity, random storms, but not a lot. I think most towns stay dry today. The best chance of seeing a storm would be in the afternoon and evening hours. With a high today in the mid-90s, triple-digit heat indices with that sun and cloud mix. Low tonight down to about 73. We'll be in the low 90s tomorrow and Wednesday. That's normal, really. And the rain chance is not very good. 20% both days in the afternoon and evening hours. And not much change on Thursday. That's the first day of summer. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Do you have big plans this summer? Dive into summer with an ASE Credit Union vacation loan. Whether you've got a trip coming up, projects at home, or just need a little extra cash, we've got you covered. So don't put your plans on hold. Visit yourasecu.com or stop by and see us today.
1819 News.
There's a new law that will be implemented soon here in Alabama that aims to enhance the safety of tow truck drivers. The bill was named the John Hubbard Move Over Act when it was introduced in the state legislature. It was initiated by Alabama State Representative Rhett Marks after a tow truck driver named John Hubbard was hit and killed while working on the interstate. The law increases existing penalties for violators, including fines up to $300 and possible license suspension. There are also criminal penalties established for injuring someone while driving under the influence of alcohol or texting on your phone. The law goes into effect October 1st. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Schaefer with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
An officer-involved shooting in Athens has resulted in the death of a 15-year-old male. Police were called to a home regarding an out-of-control teenager who was threatening family members. Police say that the teen started throwing knives at the officers upon their arrival and then pointed a rifle at them. This is when an officer shot back. The teen died despite life-saving measures being taken. The State Bureau of Investigations is now looking into the case. A fundraiser has been started to help a Mountain Brook teenager who is recovering from a horrible shark attack. 15-year-old Lulu Gribbins has had her hand and foot amputated. Gibbons' first words after her medical trauma was, "I made it." A Mountain Brook business owner is now putting those words on T-shirts in order to raise money for the family. Thousands of those T-shirts have already sold out. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
During this time of year, you probably expect me to say, the deals are hot at Larry Puckett Chevrolet. Or, you'll look cool driving a Larry Puckett Chevrolet. Well, since the deals are hot every month at Larry Puckett, you need to know that Larry Puckett is currently having a red tag sale. Save thousands on any number of pre-owned cars. All makes and models: Chevrolet, Jeep, Nissan, Toyota, Buick. Larry Puckett has one of the largest used car inventories in the river region, so you'll have plenty to choose from. Start your summer off with a hot deal by saving a lot of bucks on new Chevrolets or pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. All makes and models at one of the river region's top auto dealers, Larry Puckett Chevrolet. Their red tag sale won't last forever, so do yourself a favor and save today. Shop them online at larrypuckett.com. For as long as I can remember, Larry Puckett's customers have been doing the talking. Larry Puckett Chevrolet on Cobb Ford Road in Prattville.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. If you do want to watch the show, you can go to Joey Clark Live on YouTube or at the Joey Clark on Twitter X. Again, we have Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy of the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office here in the studio. And, Eddie and I haven't even had the chance to fight. I didn't even have time to bring up that photo from the 80s that you sent me.
You know, Joe, you don't have to tell everyone things that I share with you at perhaps a drunken moment in my life.
But you knew what you were doing when you sent it to me.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yeah, I showed Kevin.
A drunken moment, he was 12.
It all started to make sense, though. Like his early days started to make a lot of sense to me. Let's go to Eric the dog. Hey, Eric.
What's happening, Eric?
How y'all doing?
Hi, get in here.
Good. Y'all were talking about the Hispanics getting riled up and stuff, and I got a few Hispanic buddies, and they're riled up, and they actually talked to me about that triple homicide.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then my buddy showed me what he's got for somebody if they come at him and his. And a lot of them feel like that. And some of these folks don't speak good English. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
So their perception of what's going on is not great, and I don't see a whole lot of people up in arms about it, which I'm not looking for a whole bunch of people up in arms. I just want it fixed. I want it to, when Kevin, when you were in there, it didn't seem like it was this bad. Maybe it was, and maybe I just, maybe my racist self didn't see it. But it's gotten
Got to remember, I've been gone from MPD for 10 years.
10 years.
So it's been a long time.
Yep.
One of the things that the sheriff set out to do several years ago was, and it's a hard block to kind of cut into, was I had been unsuccessful when I was at the city. I really tried to recruit police officers into the Latino community. But, when you understand the dynamic, a lot of the countries, Ecuador, Brazil, Mexico, the citizens are very distrustful of law enforcement because sometimes when the cops show up, they steal from them.
Yeah, right.
So they come to the United States, they're very distrustful of law enforcement, but we've actually been successful at the sheriff's office. We have several Latino deputies, and they are a great liaison between us, the sheriff's office, and the Latino community. And so, again, we're very proud of that. They're afraid to talk to us because they're, if they're illegal, they're afraid of being deported. And so, again, there's a dynamic there that you have to, you show up at a call where they've been the victim of a robbery. They're afraid of going to jail themselves because they're illegal. So,
yeah, I had a buddy of mine had that happen to him.
Yeah.
He wasn't very helpful. I had a buddy of mine reach out to me trying to talk to somebody in Montgomery over in homicide, somebody that he felt like got shot out on Highway 80 a couple years ago. That nobody in the family speaks Spanish, and the Montgomery homicide department, whoever was working the case, I don't know if they don't have anybody or this lady, but they don't they didn't speak Spanish, so they weren't being, they had questions that weren't getting answered. And when I asked questions, I wasn't getting no answers either, but I don't know everything, what I mean? So
the Latino community in Montgomery is very diverse. And so even though we have fluent in Spanish deputies, they're like a Peruvian, where they speak Indian, but it's a mixture of Spanish and the Indian. They can't communicate even with a Latino Spanish-speaking deputy. So, it's not as clear and simple as people would like it to be.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So, again, I remember when I was at the city, we had a similar instance, and this officer who was very fluent, he's from Puerto Rico, bilingual, he shows up to municipal court to interpret for the judge and the defense attorney, and this lady started speaking so fast, he goes, "I can't help you." He said, I can't, I don't speak her dialect. So, again, there was nothing that could be done in that setting. No one in that courtroom could understand her. That has to be a very frustrating situation. You're in another country charged with something, and nobody can understand what you're saying.
Well, and talk about national problems, and as I often repeat on these airwaves, on many big national issues, mistakes of this magnitude, say the border, are not made innocently.
No.
There's
no way, man.
God love the people who are trying to come here and make a better life. I get that, but we're doing an experiment here that probably has some major downsides.
It's dangerous.
Well, we got no controls for it. No control to look at it.
There's more drugs coming over that border than people.
Oh, certainly.
And it's destroying these cities. I think I've mentioned this on your show before, but you can go to, I think it's Kensington Avenue in Baltimore. And
Zombieland?
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And there are officers standing there, open drug use.
Yep.
The people, they look like skeletons. And heroin, fentanyl. I don't need to tell your listeners. You can see it on the news and all the major cities.
But it's so shocking to see that and realize that's the United States. I mean, I remember the first time I saw it. It's something you would think you'd see in a horror movie, but never here in the United States.
It is unbelievable. You think you're looking at an apocalyptic movie.
It really is
that bad.
And what's so I almost said a dirty word. What messes with your mind, screws with your mind. Closer to what I was going to say. Think of like California, like Ronald Reagan's California, and how in 2 generations, where it's gone,
how quickly that disappeared.
It boggles the mind. It really does.
Yeah. Oh, nothing like the government showing up to help you. The only Kevin, I had a question. I heard you telling that lady about a firearms class. Why doesn't the city? Why don't law enforcement in general do something to promote gun safety and gun culture, the appropriate gun culture, more than some of these other social programs?
Well, that's part of the firearms familiarization course. Is we actually talk about the law. We talk about your rights as a citizen and protecting yourself, which citizens have an absolute right to protect themselves. But we go through the law, and one of the discussions I have with people who carry a firearm, and I'm gonna save the day. I'm gonna protect. Scenario: you're in a movie theater, and just like what happened in Aurora, Colorado, somebody comes in and starts shooting. You pull your gun out and start shooting at the bad guy. Well, Eddie thinks you're one of the terrorists too.
Yeah.
So Eddie starts shooting at me, and then Joey takes Eddie out. So again, it's all great in movies. It always turns out the good guy wins, but you know as well as I do, life is a lot more complicated than that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my firearms get me and mine out of harm's way, and then let professionals do theirs. I mean, that's ugly, but it's
truth.
I'm trying to get out there without getting shot, and I'm trying. If I don't have to shoot anybody, my preference is that I never in my life have to pull my gun on somebody seriously.
I'm with you.
Ever.
Amen.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a nice afternoon.
Thank
you too, dog. See you, buddy.
Yeah, and also I'm not a gun guy. I just haven't ever been. But I was taught the basics as a kid. My dad had a few rifles and things, and taught the basics. And I've been in situations where I didn't fear for my life, but it's more, say it's a party and a bunch of people are drinking and they want to show off all their.
That's the worst place to be.
And it's just even me, I'm like, what are you idiots doing?
I know.
Yep. And there is a cavalier. Some people have a cavalier sense of the firearms they own, and that can be unnerving. But it's just it's something I was wanting to get in the second hour, and I really appreciate all the calls, folks. But this idea of, okay, there are a bunch of legal firearms on the streets. You see sometimes the press conferences that we did this bust, and here are all the drugs, here are the firearms we collected. So, and then I see stats say from 21, the Birmingham takes thousands of weapons off the streets. How do these get into the hands of law enforcement? What are some of the process that allows this to happen?
A lot of guns that are stolen are either not reported, or if they are, the people don't know the serial number.
That's right.
And so when we seize a weapon that's, from a drug dealer or used in a violent crime, we'll run it in the computer, and there's no proof or no record of it being stolen. It's stolen, but you can't trace it back to the owner. It's unbeknownst to people, we don't have gun registration in this country. So, a lot of unreported thefts. And I think I told you, Joey, we spoke over the weekend, there are some, and for the audience, you can Google this. There are some municipalities that are trying or thinking about enacting laws to charge the gun owner. If your gun is stolen from an unlocked vehicle, they want to charge you with a crime. Well, that's not going to work because people aren't going to report it then. Or if they do, they'll just say they lost it. So, to me, you're punishing the victim.
Right.
I'm totally against that. I don't think that's going to work, but that's how these guns end up. So usually when we confiscate them, it's been used in a violent crime or, drug dealers, and they have a lot of ammunition. They don't have one or two guns. They have several.
Right.
They're armed to the teeth. Some of them are, which is frightening.
Well, and let's just remind folks too, because I was thinking about it with this Roland Fryer interview I was watching this morning, and Roland was taken aback by how in fear officers were. He did a ride-along, and how scared they were having to do just a traffic stop, a highway stop. And it was in Texas, and he's like, "Why are y'all so scared?" And we assume everybody has a firearm here. And that's not still to this day, that in domestic calls, one of the most dangerous situations an officer can find themselves in?
Yeah. There's been a lot of law enforcement officers killed just serving warrants. The Marshals Task Force, where the guy shot 2 or 3 in North Carolina. There are areas of the city in Minneapolis, Los Angeles, Chicago, D.C., some of my friends that I went to the National Academy with that either retired from there or still work there, they won't send law enforcement. Now, that's pretty bad, but it's so dangerous when they're driving down the street. The bad guys from the shadows will take shots at the patrol car. It's that serious. You can get on the internet go to Chicago Police Department's website and actually listen to their radio traffic. Steve Searcy, a good friend of mine, told me, and so I listened to it. The dispatcher's trying to put out calls. Nobody will take it.
Really?
The officers are not picking up the mic and taking the call. And so the call just drops. No response. And I mean, when Steve told me about that, I thought, really? So I listened to it myself. And she gets repeatedly on the air trying to raise a unit. They won't answer the radio. And then gets out, broadcast. Can anybody take this call? And nobody's responding. So, that.
What is it? The Rapture right now? Like, what is the
Londe?
Daggum blower.
So, I can't imagine that. When I was an officer on the streets, and even now coming over here, I heard deputies and supervisors fighting over going to a call.
That's what I would think.
I'm closer. I'm going. I mean, again, that's what you want.
Yeah.
But the exact polar opposite of that is some cities, the officers know that they're going to get ambushed, so they don't even go in. That's scary.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I will say, I think here in Montgomery, we have opportunity to turn things around, and we're nowhere near some of the situations you could see even in this nation. But I can't imagine like letting, especially in the name of like compassion and being humanitarian, respecting human rights, you let, whether it's the zombie lands you were talking about, or essentially gangs running entire neighborhoods. You just let it fester in your city, and you think, well, I'll be removed from it. I'll somehow have private security, and it won't ever touch me. I think that's just foolish.
Well, trying to split the city in half has never worked.
Right.
I don't care if it's 2024 or 1964. And I think that was maybe the mindset for so many years. Well, that's the West Side. And the people that brought me up, that mentored me, and then, of course, I became that mentor. And I would say it because my predecessors did. There is no East and West Side. There's one Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And what affects one side is going to affect the other. And that's where we are today.
Yeah.
And so we got to treat the whole city. You don't treat half the patient. And, the approach is going to have to be holistic, not just, just going to treat this area because that's where the problem is. The problem is everywhere. So, it's going to really take somebody who's going to be able to wrap their arms around it, he or she, and turn it around.
Well, how about this? Let's hit a quick break while they're blowing whatever they're blowing out there, and we'll be right back, folks.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. Did you know the current national average turn time to close on a mortgage is 48 business days? But not at Alabama Home Mortgage. At Alabama Home Mortgage, our average close time is 16 business days. That's a month faster than the rest. How do we do it? With over 60 years of combined experience in the industry. Our team knows mortgages. Our years of experience yield a better experience for our customers. Folks, time is money. Whether you're looking to buy or refi, don't waste time with another mortgage company, bank, or credit union. We close on time, every time. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our fast turn time is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network is brought to you by Ernest Financial.
If you're tired of losing your money in the stock market, call David Ernest, 334-279-7431. Ernest Financial, LLC.
Well, hi, everybody. Brand new week, but a routine June forecast here with heat, humidity, random storms, but not a lot. I think most towns stay dry today. The best chance of seeing a storm would be in the afternoon and evening hours. With a high today in the mid-90s, triple-digit heat indices with that sun and cloud mix. Low tonight down to about 73. We'll be in the low 90s tomorrow and Wednesday. That's normal, really. And the rain chance is not very good, 20% both days in the afternoon and evening hours. And not much change on Thursday. That's the first day of summer. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
At CB&S Bank, we've been meeting the needs of our customers since 1906. Need help setting up new business goals? Our line of commercial loans can help you achieve them. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. This part of the program brought to you by Ashley and her team there at Pest Pro Services. And at Pest Pro, Ashley and that team can well help you with any of your pest control issues you might be facing. And 'tis the season for mosquitoes in particular.
Yeah.
And I know Pest Pro helped you out with all that, Eddie.
Dude, I've got no mosquitoes at our Airbnb. I mean, none. They don't even come on the porch. Oh, you can walk all the way down the water. Just don't see them. And that's because we've had them come out. They come out and spray once a month. And literally, I can tell when it's getting time for them to spray because I'll start seeing a couple. They come out. That's the end of that.
There you go. And then it could be something like termite treatment that you need done, and you should get that done before they destroy your property. That's a lot more expensive to fix termite damage than it is getting a treatment done. Or it could be like, hey, you hadn't gone to the back shed in a while, and there is a wasp's nest that's the size of the entire corner. Yeah, you might want to call in the pros.
Might want to, Joey.
So y'all check out Pest Pro Services today. Even if you don't have, an immediate emergency big problem, make them your everyday pest control company. That number, 265-9990. That's 265-9990. You can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search for Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. What do you want to know? Call a pro, Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that great team that Joey and Eddie from the radio sent you. Let's go right to the phones, and really do appreciate all the time today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Love being here.
Let's go to John. Hey, John.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
How's everyone?
All right.
I have a question regarding concealed carry. I know recently in Alabama we went to permitless carry. This may sound like a dumb question, but do we still have an option, should we choose to actually get a concealed carry permit?
Absolutely. And we still issue them. And I'm glad you brought that point out, that question. If you there are interstate compacts with other states in the country that honor an Alabama pistol permit.
Right.
So if you cross the border into Georgia or Florida, to me, it's just more of a safety net and insurance policy because they actually honor an Alabama pistol permit. I'm not sure of some of the adjoining states, but not all states have a permitless carry. So if you're traveling,
very good point.
Hey, it's a good thing to have.
Well, that was what I thought, because I actually live right here on the Georgia-Bama line, just inside Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having a conversation with someone, and we were discussing that it's still a good idea to have one for certain situations.
I think so.
Just for, like you said, as an insurance policy.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
So, okay, so you recommend doing that, and I like to stay, in compliance, so to speak. I like to think of myself as one of the good guys with a gun. So,
well, as crazy as it sounds, I'm a law enforcement officer. I have a pistol permit.
Okay.
And I don't have to have one under the Patriot Act, but I still have one. The sheriff actually signed it.
Okay. Well, that's that was mainly what I was concerned, or my question was about, was that issue, because I was getting some conflicting.
That's a great question.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it,
All
John.
right.
Good question. Let's go to Urbanite. Hey,
Hey,
Urbanite.
Yeah, how we doing today?
Good.
How are you?
I hate to put you on the spot there, guy, but are you seeking a job by chance?
Kevin?
Yeah.
No.
Would you take the chief of police again?
Oh, that's very kind of you to say that, but I've been with the sheriff for 10 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And I'm going to stick with the sheriff. I think that there's a lot of people out there that will do a great job at MPD. I've been gone 10 years, and I think my time has come and gone. I loved my time at the city, love the MPD, still have a lot of friends there. But, I have really found a home with the Sheriff Cunningham.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great staff, and I'm really enjoying my career. So I'm very happy. I'm kind of in a place where I really want to be, and I think need to be. So, but that's very kind of you to say.
Hey, I didn't mean to rain on your bliss, but there was one other question I got.
Okay.
Is there a national push amongst law enforcement unions to make district attorneys stop doing all the woke stuff? Have they established an agenda to push yet with the lobbying effort?
I haven't seen it. I mean, there's always been discussions there with IACP, National Sheriff Association, Police Executive Research Forum, large city police chiefs, National Executive Institute, FBI National Academy Associates. I could go on and on. But to answer your question, there's not been any formal discussion like resolutions, but I know that a lot of the representatives on the national, state, and local have discussions with these groups, and they're trying to work things out. I mean, as long as the conversation, the dialogue keeps going, law enforcement isn't perfect. We're made up of fallible human beings, men and women, and unfortunately, sometimes they make mistakes. But if something occurs on a city street in Minneapolis, it can have reverberating repercussions across not just the country, but the whole world. And that's something that we really discuss with our deputies. Understand, this is just happening out in the middle of nowhere, Montgomery County. It can be on the other side of the planet within a few hours.
Yeah. Understood. Wait, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
Appreciate it, Urbanite.
Thanks, Urbanite. See you, bro.
272-9228. All these years now, and it really has been years. Do you think body cameras are still a good idea and have been very useful?
I do. I wish we had them when I was on the streets.
Yeah.
Because I've had people complain on me that it was not true. They lied to try to get me in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
In the last several years, I think I've handled 2 deputy complaints, and what they accused the deputy of doing didn't happen. So I called them in the office, and I started showing them the videotape. They're like, that's okay. You can shut it off. I said, no, I want to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, buddy.
Because what you said did not happen.
Wow.
For instance, this guy who was short in stature said that the deputy put him up on the hood of the car. Well, the car was a Tahoe that he'd have had to have a ladder to get on the hood. The deputy didn't put him on the hood of the car.
Right.
He lied.
Yeah, just straight up.
And the deputy was so courteous and respectful.
Yeah.
The whole video's
Opposite of what he said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, I think it is a great tool. I'll concede that it's improved officer behavior.
Sure.
Because they know they're being filmed, and that's a good thing because it's, increased accountability. And just like I told you and the listeners just a little while ago, the training is improved. De-escalation techniques. So when I'm watching, and body camera footage, body cam technology is not just to be looked, viewed, critiqued when you get a complaint. So all the supervisors, sheriff, myself, sometimes, and I'm not, head hunting, but I'll just arbitrarily, I'll see something on the DAR, the daily activity report. of an encounter with a mental health patient or somebody who's drunk, and I'll go to that body cam footage and I'll watch the officer's performance, and I'm always so pleased. Once in a while, you have to give some constructive feedback to the deputy,
right?
But it's a learning process. But it's a management tool, not just we only use it when we get complaints. No, we critique and give feedback to our deputies, and it makes them better deputies. And I've actually seen a deputy right out of the academy, off of training, still learning the ropes, and then move forward 5-6 years. And man, what a difference.
Yeah.
They're so mature and steady and making good calls and judgment. That's what you want to see, but that's what that feedback is for. So yeah, I wish we had had this technology around a lot longer ago, because I think it's a good thing.
Well, and speaking of technology, like, it's clearly drones have changed the face of warfare. Do you think drone technology, I know we already have some, surveillance drones here?
We have several at the SO.
And so how do you think drones will shape policing going forward? I know this gets into questions of law and all sorts of things, but in terms of their use for law enforcement, do you think it is an effective tool and will continue to be?
Without a doubt. That and robots. Robots kind of enter the forefront of the public eye when they had the mass shooting in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then Chief Brown, who later became the chief in Chicago, approved for them to put explosives on the robot, the robot made its way to the suspect, who was heavily armed. He had already killed a few law enforcement officers and civilians, and they killed him with the explosives. That's the first time AI technology had ever been used in that manner. And of course, the public's reaction to it was shocking. But, robots, drone technology is going to save lives.
No doubt.
And, we had a scene where it's such a useful tool. You put the drone up in the sky and you have the SWAT team trying to locate the suspect, and you could see the infrared, and the drone showed the infrared of where the suspect was in the woods, and you could see the officers. They were triangulating. It was done safely. There was no surprises, and it really made the difference in safety, having that drone eyes up in the sky. So all this technology is very valuable, whether it's a body cam or a drone or a robot. But, we in law enforcement have to use them wisely, because the first time it's abused, the citizens are going to absolutely reject its use. Like what happened in Dallas, I think most people were okay with it because of the situation.
Right.
But,
I don't think most people saw any other way to stop that.
Yeah. So again, I think the use fit the circumstances.
Yeah, and I think you would agree with this. I don't even need to ask a question, but whether we're talking weapons of war or even policing assets, a human needs to be in charge.
Yes.
Where AI is going, especially the autonomous systems, is incredibly unnerving, especially when you're talking about weapons of war. That if you let one of these programs, I think actually the Israelis have been using some of this stuff to, in real time, essentially a score over a target. On who is actually a threat. And it's stuff like that where that starts to feel dystopian, like where the autonomous systems are making the choices.
I never thought, you saw this growing up in futuristic movies, never thought we'd see it in our lifetime, but man, it's here.
It is.
Yeah.
And when you have missing kids and missing seniors, that's when I think the drone technology really speeds things up.
Well, as a matter of fact, Operation Lifesaver, where if you're an Alzheimer patient suffering from dementia, we put a bracelet on them. And there have been instances where they wander off, family calls, and we have a system that can actually track the bracelet.
That's great.
But we put the drone up in the air, and I can remember without this technology, we would spend hours looking in a wooded area for Alzheimer's patient that had wandered off. We find them so quickly now because of Operation Lifesaver, because of the drones. Our average is just phenomenal. Within minutes, we locate them. So again, this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
Good afternoon, Joey. It's Pat.
Hey, Pat.
I wanted to compliment one of the deputy chief's employees. I got myself in trouble a couple years ago, and so I get to come in every quarter and do that registration thing. And I think her name is Officer Hudgens, but she is by far one of the most professional people I've ever dealt with in my life.
It's Marla. She's a one of the fingerprint identification clerks in the ID office, is what we call it. Marla Hudgens.
I just wanted to let you know that you got a good one there.
I agree. Thank you.
So I've enjoyed listening to you all. Have a good afternoon.
Hey, thank you, Pat. Appreciate you calling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also, though, as much as tech, I think, will continue to be used to augment, enhance capabilities, it does come down to the people skills, right? And understanding. One thing in that Wilfred Riley write-up is they said that officers were often trained in combat skills, de-escalation skills, but also combat that doesn't require weapons. And it was incredibly useful, essentially, that if you knew how to take somebody down to the ground or control somebody without any sort of lethal threat, it gave them a lot more, not just a confidence, but a capability that maybe somebody, fresh doesn't have. So I guess what I'm asking is, are there a lot of MMA, is mixed martial arts, or what's the training?
Well, a history lesson in '84 when I started, the self-defense tactics were pretty primal. Dakota method, 3 from the ring with a wooden baton. But now it's SSGT, which, again, you can take somebody at 125 pounds and they can actually break loose, break free from a much larger individual. And, so it's ground fighting, SSGT, it's self-defense. There's a lot of jiu-jitsu involved in it. And we certify every year. Every deputy puts on sweats and gets on the ground, and it's that operant conditioning.
Yeah.
Our correctional officers also go through it, and I was over at the detention facility just last week and actually sat and watched some of them retraining. And then they all kind of looked at me. I said, you know what? This stuff works. It's going to save your life. And, I've seen it, like we were just talking about a moment ago on body cam, or in the jail with some of the cameras in the facility where they were attacked by an inmate, or the deputy was trying to deal with a violent mental health subject, and nobody got hurt. They were able to take control of the person, get them on the ground, and get them handcuffed. 40 years ago, that wasn't always the case. You hit them with a billy club. I can remember some of they were World War II vets that were about to retire out when I started in '84. And they'd carry those lead slaps. Man, they'd open up a head.
Sure.
They'd bash you. But we don't do that anymore. And so, again, the training, the discipline, the technology has all improved law enforcement. Yeah, we're not perfect. Certainly people make mistakes. But we're a lot better off now than we were 40 years ago.
Certainly.
So.
Well, and it is incredible that that jiu-jitsu doesn't come around until, I guess, the 90s when the Gracies start jumping into UFC.
Yeah, the Gracies, yeah.
And that is incredible, because UFC, when it started, it's like Butterbean and Ken Shamrock. It's like some folks who can fight, but you didn't know, and you still had folks arguing is, Kung Fu better than karate, all this stuff. To actually see it tested. And now it's something that I know law enforcement now is doing, and special forces, and everybody's doing. It's kind of incredible that one guy, that one family comes up with these techniques.
Well, the thing I love about it's simple. It's not a complex series of maneuvers. It's using your body weight to, tear away from the suspect, to gain control. We started with Coda Method 3 from the ring, and then years later, PPCT, pressure point contact training, and now it's SSGT. But I actually taught my grandson, when he was growing up and got a little older, he's 20 now, how to defend himself. And there was a kid at school that was picking on him, and I told him just ignore him, turn the other cheek. And one day he had enough, and Mom and Dad got called to the school, and he had put this kid on the deck, on the ground. And he did it using some of the stuff I taught him. I thought, well, what a proud grandfather I am. But, you know, he didn't hurt the kid, but he looked at me and said, Poppy, that stuff really works. I said, well, don't get too full of yourself there, boy. Yeah. But again, it does. It's simple.
Yeah.
And that's what the beauty of it is. You know, if I were someone, you know, female, you can get away from somebody by using these techniques. It's really good stuff. Sergeant Stephen Wallace teaches it to our deputies, and it's phenomenal stuff. But it's not one and done. You recertify every year, kind of brush up on your skills.
Well, and a lot of what y'all do there at the sheriff's office is, of course, crime, and then you said that you have the civil side of things. But y'all are a part of the community, right? Y'all have a pretty big outreach and are part of a lot of different things going on here in the county.
Yeah, we just finished a youth fishing rodeo. We
that.
changed it 2 Saturdays ago.
Love that you guys do that.
You know, we have an Easter egg hunt. We're going to have a summer camp show and tell, the end of July. We do a senior fishing rodeo in September. One of the biggest events that we have is a spectacular. Thousands of people come out to Garrett Coliseum. Man, Christmas is huge. We do meals for the homeless, and we give out Christmas presents. That's one thing the sheriff is really big on. We have just tremendous amount of events. We do safety talks to communities, churches, businesses. Captain Randy Pollard does a great job with that. But, you know, just like I said, even in the jail with the Ignite program and then the family support unit, I mean, it's really hard to keep up with Derek Cunningham.
Yeah.
He is just full of ideas. He's high energy. You know, he's going into, 26 years at the sheriff's office. He's on year 12 being the sheriff, and he hadn't slowed down one bit.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we got one last break. We'll be right back, folks, and talk to Ray Bowles and then talk about what we learned today.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
Hi, I'm Brian McMahon with Turf Stalkers. Within a few months of advertising with Blue Water, our customer base doubled. If you're looking for similar results, we highly recommend advertising with Blue Water.
Radio works. It's as simple as that. Call us to find out how radio can work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Hey guys, are you looking for a professional and reliable tree service company in the Montgomery and surrounding areas? Well, check out the folks at Tree Masters. It's a name you know and trust. From pruning to full tree removal, they'll even help you remove your shrubs. They service all of Central Alabama, including Lake Martin and Lake Jordan. Call them for a free quote today at 334-676-3638. That's 334-676-3638. Tree Masters.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is #1 in the #2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Final segment here of the program, and this day has flown by. Very much thanks to our special guest today. Thank you again for all the time, Kevin.
Enjoyed being here.
And let's go to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray.
Hey, if you gave him some water and some sandwiches like you did last time for me,
Say what now?
your special guest, did you give him like drinks and sandwiches and like pull out all the stuff for him like you did for me?
Oh, I've never done that for you. Why are you lying?
See how defensive he gets, Ray? Lose him?
Lose you?
Oh, there you are. There you are.
There you are. I'm out in the county. County law. All right. Hey, I got a different ad today. You
All
don't
right.
need to force call me. But last week, we had a customer pass away unexpectedly while we were doing in the house working. He has 3 kittens that needs to find a new home. And I can't take 3 kittens. But if you know somebody or you're willing to take 3 kittens, would you call us at 285-8117, write down the name and number, and I'll get back to you.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right.
Got it?
All right.
You hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Ray.
Okay, good. Like I said, I'm way out here in the county. So if you need a floor, call us, 285-8117. We'll come out like I'm doing right now, give you a free measurement. And next thing you know, you got a floor down. Just that simple.
That's perfect.
Again, that's 285-8117. Even when he's out in the county, Ray's at work. I appreciate the time as always, sir.
Thank you, Ray.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
You
Bye.
too, brother.
Looking to get rid of some kitten.
Yeah.
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 No, eventually.
I'm not looking at you.
No, Jeff Dice shared a story with me that 1819 did about the overload of dogs and cats at local humane shelter. And I'm due. I really want one, but my grandfather was get a dog or a cat that doesn't shed. I'm like, all the good ones do.
You can get one of those hairless cats.
No.
We rescued a cat this weekend. We live out in the country, and I found after being out there a while, people dump their animals.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the living room and looking out the back door, and I thought, is that a raccoon? It was a little kitten.
Yeah.
And Carol Smith took it in. She rescues cats because the family dog did not like the cat.
It's not.
So we had to find it a good home, but we weren't going to take it to the shelter because we knew it wouldn't fare very well there, but we found it a good home.
That's good. Yeah, we got 2 cats, and we live on the lake. We have no snakes.
Yeah.
As long as I've got more than 1 cat, I have very seldom seen any snakes. No chipmunks, no squirrels, no kind of wildlife, just 2 fat cats.
No, I've always said I started as a joke, but I kind of want to make this joke a reality. Like I want to get like a black or a chocolate lab, name it Steve. Then kind of like a tiny dog, like a toy poodle or chihuahua, name it Lil Pimp. And then have a cat, name it Niccolo Machiavelli. And I think it fits a cat.
I think you should start with a small dog, and I think that'd
Start
be really
with the
good.
small dog? I don't
get
know.
the dog purse that you can tote him around with all the time.
Okay, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing. See what happens when we get our own device. You watch the show, you know.
Yeah, you said you guys weren't going to fight today, but it looks like I'm going to be in the middle one here any second.
No, I think we have learned a lot today. Well, and the main takeaway is I think because the politics gets involved and also people's fears, frustrations get involved, it gets a touch personal sometimes. And what I'm talking about are city council meetings, and the mayor's been under a lot of heat, and he's the mayor. He's got to take responsibility for the city he's now reelected to run. But I keep saying on these airwaves, the goal here is not to run Stephen Reed out of town. I don't have that power and I don't have that desire. I think the goal should be we need to fix this problem before it really gets out of hand. And from what I'm hearing from you, Kevin, and from more I talk to state legislators and these sorts of things, I think everybody's on the same page that we got to get a handle on this. I get worried about the finger pointing sometimes that happens, say more at the political level.
Yeah. I think if a very good police chief takes over, I think you'll see it turn around.
Hope to.
You know, if we could clone Derek, we'd be all right.
You're kidding.
But, you know, I'll say this, the citizens are 100% right in their complaints, their observations, their concerns. You know, everywhere I go in public, whether I'm in uniform or not, I get stopped. It's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
everywhere I go, in restaurants. I was at a big box store this weekend. And I mean, I've never seen, usually it's people walk up to you doing a good job, but now it's, man, what are we going to do? And so we've got to address it quickly and turn it around quickly because, like I said a minute ago, every community surrounding Montgomery is dependent on this city to thrive, and we've got to work together to do it.
Well, and the stat you gave with the
Metropolitan Statistical Area, MSA.
And so we have nearly 500,000 people.
Close to it.
And that puts in perspective, yeah, this is a pretty major area because Montgomery still has that, for better or for worse, small town feel.
It does.
Like I did a recent trip to Boston. I'm like, okay, this is a proper
big
old
town
city.
Yeah.
And so coming back to Montgomery and hopping on the interstate from the airport, I'm like, oh yeah, welcome home.
Yeah.
And it's something I think we need to preserve. And I would hate to see, I get tired of accepting failure. When you see some of the corridors that you're seeing the problems, all power to the mayor working with folks from Selma. I hate to see a lot of the stories come out of Selma.
Yeah.
And it's just, we got to do better here in this part of the world. Yeah. And maybe I'm being too hopeful and the politics will get in the way, but something's got to be done because, I mean, this is a great place to live. I'm still here. I had a little bit of a rant the other day that, I don't have too many roots here. I could say to hell with the place, but I'm not there yet, folks.
Well, I mean, my son was born here. All my grandchildren were born here. My granddaughter's born elsewhere, but this is my home. This is where we've dug roots and friends, family, coworkers, my whole adult career.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. So this is home.
And so with you being here today, we weren't able to get into the new Nintendo stuff coming out. We weren't able to get into how Jeffrey Epstein is trending on Twitter again.
Can you come back tomorrow? Because we're going to have to talk about this stuff tomorrow.
Well, I'm not the right guy to ask Nintendo questions for.
Well, and then Ansed Toll is trending because instead of saying anecdotal, Charlie Kirk said Ansett Dole or Toll, and now we have to make fun of him or something.
Is that like kerfuffle?
Yeah, or Kofifi?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
What do we think, though? The Senate committee, and really, we got like 3 minutes left, and I'm honestly just ready to go home, folks. It's been a great show. I don't have anything else to say. The Senate committee votes for women in the draft.
What did you think about the automatic? You're just automatic, Joey.
Well, and they upped the age,
got my
too,
attention.
yeah.
That really got my attention. If we are a truly peaceful nation, why do we have an automatic draft now? Why did that suddenly come up? What's the future hold for us?
Well, and then you want to throw women in on that.
Well,
that doesn't sound...
It makes me feel like we're preparing for something.
Well, since you mentioned it, we're talking about the low numbers in law enforcement and military suffering the same problems.
I can see that, though. When I look at the leadership in today's military, I would advise my own children, let's wait a little while.
But, when you talk to the officers, generals at Maxwell, PhDs, these are sharp guys.
Oh, yeah.
Makes you proud to be an American.
Exactly right.
So, again, there's a lot of great people in law enforcement. There's a lot of great people in the military. It's got to turn around, too, though. Just like law enforcement, we can't keep going down that same path. We got to be able to have a deterrence in law enforcement and in the military. I mean, some of those pilots at Maxwell, they go to the Air War College.
Yeah.
They are so impressive.
Very.
Right. Oh, yeah. I've talked to a few of those guys over there.
Man,
and it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I am not, I'm a jackass on the radio. I'm a fancy idiot. But I do love getting into the geopolitical stuff, and it's just fascinating. And talking to those folks who actually do that sort of thing for a living, that's a whole other world and a huge asset for Montgomery. And then, sometimes you find headlines where you go, thanks, duh. Weather agency warns heat wave to impact tens of millions of Americans.
Is that story like 3 days old now?
It's like, come to Alabama.
Right.
It's called summer.
What they said about winter in Alabama this year? It's going to be on a Thursday. That's pretty much
about it,
all
yeah.
we get here.
Well, again, I appreciate all the time. And folks, y'all stay tuned. Happy Hour with Greg Beadell. Well, he's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana.